how in the world? Not only do, like you say, it's a basketball game before the fight. Met the man, the red man, bring him to the ring. He got, Radio City Music Hall. Come on, Roy Jones got so much stuff that he gonna win that debate. You feel me? Then Mike Tyson probably gonna be right behind him because Mike Tyson got some knockouts that are unbelievable. You understand me? So it's like that's the two most entertaining guys over the last 2 decades, without a question.
Without a question. Well, you said you learned that move when you put your hands behind your back. Who'd you knock out when you put your hands behind your back?
I knocked him down, James Tony. Oh, no.
No, you knocked someone.
Glenn Kelly. Man, you're right.
You knocked him out. You said you learned that from a rooster, too.
From a rooster, too. That's right. That's right.
Who else learned shit from roosters?
Just Roy, the rooster man. But see, you got to understand this, too. It's a little bit more to that. I'm also big on the Kung Fu movies. So the Kung Fu movies, they got Tiger Style, Crane Style, all these, the Toad, the Lizard, all these different things. So I said, I love the roosters. So let me see how I can incorporate the roosters into my style of boxing.
Do you think this is one and done? Do you think this Tyson fight is one and done? Does it depend on the outcome, or you just have to focus on the fight right now and then decide what else is going on afterwards?
It really depends on how it goes because, I'm like this, man. I think Mike is an awesome person. And I know Mike has had his ups and downs in the world. But I know Mike is really, he is Mike. You understand me? So you don't know what Mike you're going to get.
Right.
You understand me? So in this exhibition, you got to prepare for the best you can prepare for. And, anything can happen. If Mike can hit you with an elbow and cut you on purpose, anything can happen. You don't know. And you try to get him back, and they may stop it before you get him back. Then they say, well, y'all want to do a real fight? Hell yeah, I want to do a real fight with my get back. You understand me? If that happened like that. You understand me?
You've already got it played out.
I'm just saying, because you ain't going to do just no anything and think I ain't getting no get back. You feel me?
Right,
so
I understand.
It ain't going to go like that. You feel where I'm coming from? Yeah. So now if we have a straight up one this time and it's good, then I'm cool with that. That may be the end of it. It might turn out like I want and everything be great. You understand me? So it may be a great opportunity. Both may put up great performances and we might call it a day. We might be too tired to talk about it afterwards because we old. You understand me?
Yeah.
That may happen too. But it all really probably depend on the outcome of this. You understand me? Because when you the smaller guy and you fighting a guy that you know is over here today and over there tomorrow, then you just got to prepare yourself for whatever because you don't know what he may come in there and do. You understand me? So I got to be really, I feel safe with these earmuffs on because he might bite you in your damn ear.
That's the thing about Mike. He's so crazy. You don't know wild.
You feel me? You don't know what he might do.
So. I think he's a different human now. I've talked to him twice on the podcast.
Yeah.
I talked to him once. It was about 10 months ago, and once just a couple of weeks ago, and he's two different people from those 2 times.
That's what I'm saying. That's just 10 months. So imagine what he do in 10 days.
Well, 10 months ago, he was smoking weed. He wouldn't even work out. He said he couldn't work out because he didn't want to reignite his ego. And then he said his wife called him fat. And then he started working. He said, I got on the treadmill, started doing it for 15 minutes. Next thing you know, it's 2 hours. And then he's obsessed again.
And now his ego has been reignited.
Yes. He said
so
the
now,
gods of war reignited his ego.
You feel me? So, but they call it an exhibition. Okay, so. Yeah. So anyway,
he looks shredded.
Oh, he is shredded.
Yeah,
he is shredded, and he's good. He's doing the right thing because DBs ain't playing. You feel me? So he's doing the right thing. But like I said, if everything goes good, then I won't have to do it twice. But if it don't go like I want it to, and they say y'all want to do a real one, then give me some 10s and let's go for real.
10s, and would you do 10 rounds?
10 or 12.
10 or 12.
I want 12. Yeah. I can't. I want it. See, they got me doing 8 2-minute rounds now.
Is it 2-minute rounds?
Yeah, that's to his advantage too. Everything is to his advantage. That's to his advantage too.
Why'd you agree to it?
At this point, the fans are so excited about it. I wouldn't want to pull a rug from under the fans. Then they try to sue me.
Right.
You understand me? So it's like it's not really worth it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going through these 2 rounds. Just that I'm gonna have to figure out a little bit different way. I might have to work a little faster than I expected to.
Yeah, 2-minute rounds is a totally different kind of rhythm.
Totally different kind of rhythm.
Yeah, it's weird that they decided to do it that way. Do you think they decided to do that because of the September 12th date, where it was only 6 weeks for him to prepare?
No, they decided this. They just decided this last week.
Really?
Yeah, they changed stuff on me about the week.
So it was originally 3-minute rounds.
I thought. I guess I read the memo wrong. Like I said, It changes so much on me, man. I mean, I think the WBC came in and said they want to put up some kind of title or something, so they want to cut it back to 2-minute rounds. They said something about that Arce and Chavez Senior fight, how fatigued they were after the fight, and they feel like that's a safety measure. But what they don't realize is that you keep Mike fresh. The longer you keep Mike fresh, the more dangerous that is for me.
Yeah.
So I need to get Mike unfresh quick so we can get out of this danger zone. But
what happened with Chavez Senior?
He and Arce, I think, fought a true exhibition with headgear and big gloves.
Right.
But they said they were so exhausted afterwards that they felt like that is what could inhibit somebody's health.
Huh. Well, how much did they train for?
That's what I don't know. So they're making it two different things. You feel me? So I don't know why, and they cut it back. But like I'm telling them, no, that's not right for me because I'm a smaller guy. Right. Time is my best. Is the best component I have.
Right.
The longer he goes, the more he wears, the better my chances are. Right. The longer you keep him strong and fresh, the more dangerous it is for me.
But, so they didn't discuss this beforehand? It's not a part of the contract? They just contacted you and said they're dropping it down to 2-minute rounds?
So the commission's dropping it down to 2-minute rounds.
Wow.
You can pull out.
The commission said that.
Well, they said, the commission, you drop it down to 2-minute rounds, you can pull out or you can fight. Man.
So this is the commission's idea?
Well, I guess they said WBC came in and said it along with the commission. So I don't know if it's the commission told me it's WBC told me it's the commission. So I ain't really sure who it is. But my point is, that's not good for me. That's good for him. Again, you feel me?
Yeah.
He already a bigger man. And y'all started giving him everything he wants.
Yeah, I want it to be 3-minute rounds.
I want it to be 3-minute rounds. It's safer. It's safer for me for 3-minute rounds.
Yeah, it's just better. It's boxing. It's traditional. It's what it's always been.
Guess what though? What they gonna do? Turn that light back on. When they turn that light on, bad things happen. You heard?
I heard you.
And they turn that light back on. Slowly but surely, they turn that light back on. And I'm going to say, I didn't want to be this person, but since y'all going to do me like this, and y'all start, that means trouble.
Listen, I'm excited about this fight no matter what, but now I'm more excited about it. This is going to be a gigantic fight, too. I mean, I've heard so many people talk about it that are just casual boxing fans that are excited.
I was cool in the beginning, but like I say, once you only keep me around so much, then the hook comes out. So I see myself, I think I'm turning green.
Well, you always said that there's like two dudes inside of you, right? There's Roy Jones Jr. and there's RJ.
And they're starting to wake him up.
Well, who's RJ?
He the one to be effed with.
When did you realize there was like a second person?
Well, I've been new it my whole life.
Yeah.
I've been new it my whole life. I always try to suppress that person because that person will end up in somebody's penitentiary somewhere if you don't watch it. Because he ain't really thinking about or caring about what nobody thinks.
So do you think that you developed this as a way of, is it just always been inside of you, or is this how you dealt with certain situations in your life where you had to like shut off parts of who you are?
I think all real men have it. They just don't ever have to tap into it, or they never had been pushed to that measure, which is why I say society tries to make us geldings, because any man like you got kids, somebody did something to your kid and you saw it, hard to somebody. You understand me?
I do.
So it's always there, it's just that you try to keep it suppressed. So I try to keep it suppressed, but you gonna kick on me with so much that he coming. And once he start coming, guess what? He's just like a pit bull. He has no off switch.
Who was it that you fought? You fought this dude, Jack guy, shorter guy. First fight. That's right. Yeah. The second fight, RJ came out.
Yes.
That was an annihilation.
Of course.
Yeah, you just hunt him down.
Of course. That's who RJ is.
Yeah.
Seek and destroy. That's what Hackle's words. Seek and destroy.
Seek and destroy. So the first fight, what happened in the first fight? He got injured?
No, I hit him. He went down one knee, but he was already short.
Right.
So I couldn't take him down, so I tapped him again. And I thought the referee was going to say stop.
Oh, that's right.
The referee right there. I waited for the referee to say stop. He didn't say that, so I tapped him again. He looked at the referee and thought about it and said, oh, he crashed on his head, face down. That's okay. Okay, I'll take that disqualification, but now it's a little bit harder for me when you...
Did they give him the title for that?
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, that was my first loss. If it wasn't for that loss, I probably still wouldn't have a loss today. That was my first loss. So now, around the Olympics, here I go again. So you know how I feel from the second time, right?
Yeah.
Now they got robbed twice. Well, 3 times. We talked about Olympic committee robbery too. So now I've been robbed 3 times. Now somebody got to die.
How many times has RJ come out and fight?
Just that one time.
Just one time.
It's because he talk crazy to me after I'm knowing you got my title while you down, face down the mat. You can't talk to me like that, man. If he would left me alone, it would never came out. If he just left it alone, let's go to the second fight, I would have probably beat him, but I wouldn't have beat him like that because I'm not that dude. I try to suppress that guy. You feel me?
Right.
But when he start talking, now you make me be a person I don't want to be. And I'm glad we friends now. We don't. We ain't got no beef no more. We cool. Now we shook hands. He understands and I understand, but it's like at that time, you can't talk when you took my belt while you was face down the mat. Right. And you will talk crazy about me too? No.
No, you have always showed great sportsmanship and also control. Like I remember when you tried to get the referee to stop the Pazienza fight. Mm-hmm. You were like, you looked at the referee, you're like, come on, stop it.
He done, bro. What you want me to do to him?
The referee wouldn't stop it, and then you just finished it real quick.
I said, okay.
Yeah, it was devastating. But that was an excellent example of you being a good sportsman.
I'm not out there to hurt people. Yeah. That's my try to tell people. I'm not out there to hurt people.
When you and Gerald McClellan, who was at the time a destroyer, you know what I mean? He was the man that people thought of as being like a great challenger for you. Mm-hmm. And then he had that fight with Nigel Benn and wound up getting brain injury and just devastated and was never the same again. How much did that affect you? Because a guy who was your peer, who was a man that many people have thought was going to be a rival to you, and you guys were eventually going to have a big super fight. Yeah. How bad did that affect you?
It affected me pretty bad because being that we were friends, and he wanted to reach his 50 he was going to be there. So he won up, and I was definitely looking to get that one back. But I got a little bit back, and I thought I wasn't sure it was going to but I still want to organize to get back. So I was definitely looking to fight him down the road. But when that fight happened, when I saw that fight was happening, I was the only person that said that he wouldn't win that fight. I was the only person. And people called me the next day and said, how did you know he was not going to win? I said, because he's good. He's a very strong puncher. But punching is all that Nigel really has. Nigel does not believe in boxing skills. Nigel don't care about boxing skills. Nigel is just what he say he is, a dark destroyer. You go into his country, you go into his backyard, and you're going to fight him just like he fights. That's not a good recipe. You feel me? Mm-hmm. And just what I didn't think it was gonna be quite that bad. I didn't think he was gonna end his career, but I thought that he was gonna end up losing to Nigel because of the fact that he would fight the wrong fight.
He would fight the style which Nigel shines in.
The only style that Nigel could shine in.
When he knocked Nigel down the first round, 99% of fighters would have been done.
Yeah.
When he sent him through the ropes, it looked like it was over. And that's what Gerald was doing to everybody. Mm-hmm. Gerald was destroying people.
Everybody.
Destroying people. What a puncher he was. Mm-hmm. And what a classic Kronk-style fighter he was. Tall, long dude, serious power, super hyper-aggressive, both hands. But Nigel Benn could fucking take it. You know, he almost had a comeback recently.
Yeah, he did.
He had some shoulder injuries up in the sideline.
The bad part about it, and this is what we're saying we're missing right now. If it was in today's society, Nigel never would have recovered from that first round knockout because today, with no crowd, he'd have had nothing to urge him back on. But with that crowd and he at home, if he has breath in him, he better get up and get his ass back in that ring.
Yeah.
And he did just that.
He survived.
But the crowd made him do that.
Yeah, and then when he started taking it to Gerald, I mean, that was a crazy... Gerald just emptied his gas tank trying to take him out of there. And Gerald was also another guy who cut a tremendous amount of weight.
Of course. He was big for a middleweight.
Huge. Yeah. He probably should have gone up to light heavyweight even before then.
Probably, or super middle,
Yeah, and that's what most people thought was going to happen. Yeah, that was... that's, to me, one of the great tragedies of boxing because... It's very rare that an elite, top-of-the-food chain world champion in his prime is cut down like that. It's really only been a couple instances.
Well, it puts people on notice again as to why fighters ask to get paid properly every time they go in a ring, especially against another elite fighter. Yeah. Because tomorrow is not promised to nobody when you go in that ring. Anything can happen at any time. Nobody suspected that would be Gerald McClellan's last fight ever.
Yeah.
You understand me? Nobody suspected that. No. You understand me? It's the same with the guy, the heavyweight. that it happened to up in New York. He fought the Cuban guy, Mike, whatever his name was. I can't even remember his last name, but nobody ever suspected that would be that heavyweight's last fight.
I remember that, yeah. I know the fight you're talking about, but I can't remember the name. Yeah. Same sort of situation.
Yeah, man. It's just like, you never know. So in boxing, you have to take every fight. That's why people say, well, why you say that? Man, you don't know. You get hit by somebody like Mike Tyson, anything can happen. Right. Mike Tyson is not just an ordinary puncher.
Right.
He's one of those guys that could do just that to you. So you should know what you're going into, and you should be ready for that, because this here is Mike.
Yeah.
You understand me? Now, for me, I don't really give a damn. I fight for a living. I feel just like a game rooster. I'd be ready to die for my spot. So if you want me, it's right down my alley. I ain't tripping at all, because I know that death is a probability. You feel me? So yeah, that could happen to anybody. And I know it can happen to me even more going in there with somebody as dangerous as Mike Tyson. Problem with me is why I love what I love and why I do what I do is because I love boxing. So if I gotta die boxing, I'm gonna die. You understand me? What?
Is that the way you'd like to go?
Well, I mean, it's probably one or two other ways I'd rather go.
Like a grandpa sitting on the porch?
Yeah, but if I went that way, yeah. But if I went that way, I'm not mad at it. Because I know that when I started boxing. Right. I know that people get hurt in this. Some people don't make it out of this alive. So if that's how you got to go, you got to know that. But if you ain't that game, if you ain't that committed to what you're doing, then you shouldn't be talking to me about boxing. Because that's what boxing is.
Yeah. That's a great philosophy to have going to combat, because nobody gets out alive in this life. Gotta leave some way.
Gotta believe it.
And you want to talk about a man who's been dedicated to craft and sport. I mean, your whole life has been dedicated to this craft and sport, and because of that, you are universally recognized as one of the all-time best. Yep.
And I ain't caring tomorrow who it is. When y'all see this go, it's time for me to go.
Yeah, this is a legacy that you've left. That, like, no matter what happens, no one can ever take that away from you.
Yep.
You've accomplished some crazy shit.
Thank you, brother.
I mean, it is what it is, right? That's and your era too, man. I mean, there's so many amazing fighters of your era. I mean, you really came up, and I mean, boxing is in a good place now. There's a lot of exciting champions and a lot of exciting fights to be made, but I mean, your era was one of the golden eras of boxing.
Yeah, it was. And you know what? The only thing, like I said, what hurts me now is like I be wanting to see the best fighters fight the best fighters. Like right now, a good fight that's on tap is two good fights. Tank's about to fight a good fight. Lomachenko about to fight a really good fight. Yeah. You understand me? But the guy, his opponent hasn't been proven yet, Teofimo Lopez, but I think he's a really good prospect. And if he does get into this fight, it could be really interesting. Yet at the same time, this tells us if it's too early for him or not, because he still has time to grow. He's been in it. He's young, but he's a good-looking prospect. You feel me? Good-looking prospect. The guy Tank's fighting, and just forgive me, I don't know names. I don't be remembering names that well, but he's a pretty good fighter too. And I don't know that he's gonna be able to take Tank's power, because Tank's one of these guys that comes way down in weight too. So he'll be big on fight night. And if he's that big on fight night, it makes it very difficult to take those hammers or them tanks that he throws when he throws them. So it's gonna be a good fight too. I can't wait to see that. But there's some good fights on tap, and I'm looking forward to it. But I still say that right now, the best fight out there besides Roy Hunt is Crawford versus Spence in their prime.
I agree. Yeah. I just
am
amazed.
Still not making it happen, I don't know.
When Spence came out of the car,
man,
unfazed.
So
you watch that car flip like that, you're like, Jesus Christ.
God had to be with him.
Something was with him, that's for sure.
God had to be with him.
Had to be.
Yep.
Something.
Yep.
And Terrence Crawford, to me, is one of the most interesting champions alive today.
Beast mode. He think like me and Cornell Whitaker thought. If you want it, come and get it.
I love how he switches stances too.
Yes.
I mean, he fights as good from orthodox as southpaw.
Yep.
And when he decides to switch it up on guys, you see the look in their face where they get confused. Like he'll fight 2-3 rounds one way and then switch it up.
Yep.
And you see, like Hagler used to do that.
Yeah.
Hagler was a fantastic switch.
One of the best I've
fighter.
seen until
Yes.
Crawford. Yeah.
Yeah, and Crawford he's got a mind for the sport. It's like this. You could see when he's putting it on a guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's as game as they come.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So those are fights I want to see. I have some interesting guys. I got a guy, Chris Eubank Jr. I really want to see him. I really want to see him with one of the Charlo brothers first. Mm-hmm. And when we get that, I think that'll be a very good competitive fight.
So you're training Chris Eubanks Jr.?
Yes, and that'll show us where he's at. And I think the winner of that fight should fight Canelo. But I think he's good enough that, you know, it's like you can't down a champion. You can't just say, oh, he'll beat the champ. I don't do that in boxing because that's not my thing. But we do want to fight the champ, which right now I think the WBA champ, middleweight, is a Japanese guy. And we need to fight him to find out, get us a real title. Then we should fight the Charlo brother to have a unification title. Then he should fight Canelo to find out who's the man of the weight class.
Is Canelo going to stay at 68, or is he going to go back and forth between 68 and 75?
I think Canelo's going to go where the money fight is, which is smart for him. You know, just kind of freelance and wrong. He's been always 75. He can go from 75 to 60. I think that's comfortable for him. It kind of reminds me of what I kind of did, just dominate the area. You understand me? So if you get lucky enough to get high enough in the area, he'll take it.
He's an interesting cat because, like, what he's learned from, like, particularly the Floyd Mayweather Jr. fight, if you watch the way he moves now, like, his head movement is so much better than it ever was before. It's beautiful. His defensive skills are so much better than they've ever been before.
Yeah, but to me, that's not the thing that he needed to learn, because you have to look at the past to teach you about the future. So if you look at history, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., and God bless the dead Roger Mayweather, but Julio beat Roger because he started chasing Roger at the weigh-in. Mm-hmm. He didn't wait and try to outbox Roger because he's never going to outbox Roger.
Right.
But he started chasing Roger at the weigh-in, and he chased Roger all night till he ran Roger complete ragged. Then he would beat Roger.
Well, Julio did that to everybody, right? Meldrick Taylor, too.
But what I'm saying is that's the way to beat a guy who's a better boxer than you. So if you notice, then why don't you send Canelo in to chase Floyd from round one?
Right.
You don't go out there and try to outbox Floyd Mayweather. I mean, think about it now.
That's true.
Think about it. You think I'm going to go out and try to outshoot, send somebody to go outshoot Larry Bird? No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Right.
No, I'm not. That's stupid. That's what Larry does best.
Right.
No.
I understand. I think he was a little overwhelmed, you know, because that was a big fight for him, his first real super fight, and he's in there with Floyd, who's a defensive wizard.
Yeah, but you've been pro since you was 15.
Yeah.
So you probably got a little bit more experience than Floyd had at the time as far as professional boxing goes. So if you really think about it, you don't outbox the boxer.
Didn't Floyd make him suck a lot of weight too? I think he made him get down to like 52 or something.
Yeah, but he came in the ring at like, I think it was 16 pounds heavier than Floyd. So if you're 16 pounds heavier than him, that tells you that you got to use that 16 pounds. Try to use it against him if you can.
Right.
Not saying that he would have beat Floyd, because Floyd is a smart guy. Floyd knows how to change up. That's a good thing about Floyd. Floyd also is an elite fighter who knows how to make adjustments. But for your optimal chances, you got to go and get on him from round one, like Madonna did. Was it Madonna? Didn't Floyd the first fight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gave him all kind of problem the first fight because he stayed right there on it.
Yep.
And he's not the puncher that Canelo is.
No.
He's not as big as Canelo is.
But Maidana's a wild man.
It don't matter.
Yeah.
You still, that's the only strategy. That's the only chance Canelo had that night.
Right.
You're not going to outbox Floyd Mayweather.
Right.
Come on, bro.
You had to risk losing.
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't ready. At that point, he wasn't ready for that. So to say that he's a better fighter, we could say that, but he's an older fighter too. So of course, the older you get, the better you're supposed to get.
Right.
But we can't necessarily say he's a better fighter until we see him
against a guy like Floyd,
or see him fix that. Because against, he had the same problem with Arizona De Lara.
Oh, okay.
With Arizona De Lara as he had with Floyd, because Arizona De Lara is a boxer.
Right.
So that fight was a fight that some people thought could have went either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought so
me
too.
being one of them. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it's like that don't mean you got better. That means that you've been facing different types of competition.
Right.
Because until we see you do that and handle that style, then we can say you got better.
Yeah.
Now he's a great fighter. Don't get me wrong. To me, he's in my top 3 because I love Canelo. I think Canelo one of the best out there.
Yeah.
But we can't say, we're always quick to say he got better after the Floyd fight. I'm not going to say that necessarily. He got better because he's going to get better anyway.
Right.
Because he was going to grow up, which he did. He was 21 and he grew up. Most people, when they grow up, they get smarter, so they have to get better. But I don't think the Floyd fight made him better because he still didn't show me that he made the necessary adjustment to come back and beat Floyd if he ever fought him again, or give Floyd an even better fight if he fought him again, because if he's not pressuring Floyd, he's never going to outbox Floyd.
Yeah. Styles make fights,
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Were you stunned by the Kovalev fight?
No, I wasn't. Kovalev took the fight at a time I thought was bad for him because he took it right after one of his other fights. And it's like, to me, I don't think Kovalev took the fight with the intent to win it. I think he felt like, I'll get a chance to fight Canelo, I'll get good money, I'll take it.
You think so?
That's what I felt like. Cause
really?
I didn't see the real Kovalev. I mean, then you try to box Canelo and move away and let Canelo stalk you. But now the way Canelo stalked him is the way he should have stalked Mayweather the first time.
Yeah.
Because that's what he had to do to beat Mayweather. And he turned Kovalev, the crusher, turned into a boxer.
I think with Kovalev, the word's always been that he drinks too much.
I hear that, but what I'm saying is, Kovalev, your nickname is the crusher.
Right.
Why would you let a guy coming up 2 weight classes make you deviate from where you normally are? You normally call the crusher. Now you're going to go to the boxer all of a sudden for a guy that's coming up 2 weight classes? No. No. You understand me? I mean, I love Kovalev to death too. Now that's my boy. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like he fought the wrong fight against Canelo.
Yeah. I don't know if he was physically capable of fighting any other fight.
Well, but like I said,
I just don't think he's as durable as he used to be.
I agree with that too, but to me, you must fight the right game plan or you've lost before the fight starts.
Right. Yeah. True. Well, you were a fantastic commentator, man. That's one of the things that got me really bummed out when HBO died. I can't believe they took away boxing. I don't know why HBO did that. I just don't understand it.
Well, I understood what they told me was that they don't like the fact they are not going to do something and be number 2. They can't be number 1. They ain't doing it. And so I can kind of understand that.
So what put them into number 2?
Well, I'm just saying they want to be best at it.
Was it DAZN?
I don't know.
Or was it just
I have no clue.
money and streaming, like ESPN Plus?
I don't really know. I just felt like they want to be number 1 or they don't want to be nothing. So it's like,
well, I mean, I don't know, man. Between you and with Jim Lampley
and
Max Kellerman, who's fantastic, you guys did an amazing job.
Man.
It was
fun stuff.
The commentary team was unparalleled.
The best ever.
The best ever.
So that's what I'm saying. But like I said, I just feel like maybe they were used to having the elite champions, and because the elite champions became dispersed, maybe that was it. I don't know. But to me, I felt like I said, I felt like they just wanted to be, or maybe people that bought them out did. I don't know. I don't know
either, but it's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, it hurt me. I tell you that it still hurts me to this day.
It's gotta. I mean, they have been in boxing for how many years?
It still hurts me.
30 plus years.
It still hurts me to this day.
And it's amazing that no one has brought that team back. Well, like Max Kellerman to this day is not doing boxing commentary that I'm aware of.
He do a little bit on ESPN.
Does he?
Yeah, he does a little bit. Yeah.
But where's Jim Lampley?
I don't know, but that guy, those 2 guys are 2 of the best guys you ever can work with. And Jim Lampley has a memory that is unparalleled to anybody I've ever met in my life. This guy can look at a paper one time and remember that whole damn page almost word for word.
I believe it.
I mean, I ain't never seen nothing like it in my life.
No, he is as good a play-by-play commentator as has ever lived.
Yes, sir.
No, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, HBO was pretty awesome as an organization because, it's like I built my career there at HBO, and then to be able to build that commentary career there was so fabulous for me. So they were really, I mean, it hurt me bad that they got out of boxing because that was like, man, that was really the kingpin of boxing.
Yeah, no, they were uncrowned. I mean, undoubtedly the ones who wore the crown. Yeah. Now, do you do any commentary now?
No, I can't till my contract's over, and my contract's not over till December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so after December I can do other commentary.
Are you talking to anybody about doing that?
Not
I
yet.
Hope you do.
I haven't spoken to nobody about it yet. I'm sure after it ends we'll start speaking to people, but I haven't spoken to anybody yet.
So how did you get involved with Russia? How did you become a Russian citizen? When I read that, I was like, what is happening with Roy? What are you doing?
Man, I do so much. My partner got a movie coming out right now called Four Kings. Me and Mike Tyson in that movie too. But I do so much. So I was over at Russia doing fights, doing stuff, and I never realized how big I was in Russia till I started going over there. In Russia, it's like I'm Roy of 1990s.
Really?
Yeah. When I go somewhere, it's all hail the king. That's how much they love. That's how much they love boxing.
Wow.
So to go to Russia and to see that you love that much, as bad as I hate the cold, as bad as I hate the cold, to be revered that much, is always like I tell people, I always want to be somewhere that I'm wanted and needed if possible. But wanted is the big key. And I tell my kids, don't date a girl that you want. Date a girl that wants you. She'll treat you better. Smart
words right there.
So
that's
Russia
very important.
Loves and appreciates me. You understand me? The U.S. appreciates and loves me too. Don't get it wrong. 99% of the population of Russia knows me.
Really?
Yes. So it's like when they say you should become a part of us too, it's like, it's not to say, oh, I don't like you. No, it's not like that. It's like, why can't we all get along?
Why can't we?
What's the problem?
Well, one of the things I was going to say is that you haven't really taken any grief publicly about being a dual citizen that I've ever seen.
No, but there are several Russians that are dual citizens, so why would y'all give me grief when y'all ain't giving them grief?
True.
I mean, is it, we already talk about this racism stuff, is it, if I got grief, what could it be? Because there are several Russians over here in this country right now today that have dual citizenship. So I can't.
Why can't you?
That's what I'm saying. So
how did it come up? Did they bring it up?
They just brought it up to me. A Russian guy brought it up to me and said, hey, they love you so much, you should look at becoming a citizen here too. I was like, wow, that's not a bad idea. I never thought in my life that it would be possible to become a Russian citizen and an American citizen. I said, but that can't be a bad thing. And people forget that we fought together in World War II.
Yes.
So it's like, we're not really enemies. We enemies. Sometimes politics try to make us enemies, but we're really not enemies. And if we're all children of God, then why are we enemies? Or how can we really be enemies?
So do you split time in Russia?
Yes.
So how much time of the year do you spend there?
I usually spend probably about 6 months a year there.
Really? So you do hit that cold?
Yeah. I do hit it. I hate it, but I hit it. And my fighters, and I meant to mention that I have several fighters all over the world too. I have a Russian heavyweight, I have a Swedish middleweight, I have a Swedish coach, I got fighters in South Africa, I got fighters some everywhere. And then I got a team here. I got Andrew, Glenn, I was telling you about Chris Eubank, Kevin Newman, the list goes, Shady Gamore, I said him, Ikram. I got a lot of good, Michael Williams Jr. I got a good stable of young fighters up and coming. Brian Perello, I think his last name is Bryant. Got a really good stable, Glenn Hagler Jr. Really good stable of fighters that I'm trying to work on bringing up. Fernando, and I'm trying to get them to understand my thought process in boxing, because they can understand my thought process. They already ahead of the curve. If they don't understand my thought process,
right,
they're not going nowhere.
Right.
You understand me? So it's like you have to understand the thought process in order to be able to really pursue a career doing it my way.
What do you think is different about your thought process?
My thought process is, some of it is already understood before I go in there. You understand me? So it's like certain things that you do, you know, you have do's and don'ts before you go in there. You understand me? So it's like when I come out to fight, if you got a bad jab, you won't live tonight. You will not win tonight, because you're not going to beat me with a bad jab. Not because it's the first punch you learn in boxing. If your jab is bad, you're not beating Roy. You understand me? If you can't block this hook, you're not beating Roy. You understand? Those things are understood before the fight ever starts. I don't care who you are. If your jab bad and you ain't going to block this hook, you ain't going to beat Roy.
So do you think, like, for young fighters, well, first of all, it's got to be an amazing opportunity to train with an all-time great, period. Yeah. But to get into your head and for you to explain to them how you approach situations, how you approach fights, how you approach stepping into that ring, how you approach dismantling opponents, that's got to rub off on young kids.
Yeah, it does. That's what I try to do. Some kids get it, some kids don't, but my goal is to try to get it to all of them. I get it in all of them's head. Get them at least to start thinking in the right direction. Because if I can make them think in the right direction, now I got something. You understand me? I got to make them think in the right direction first. See, most guys want contact. You understand me? Contact is like, I got a guy, one of my guys I work with off and on named James Wilkins. He works harder than everybody everywhere. But I got to teach him that it's not about how hard you work, it's how smart you work hard. You understand me? Because you're working hard without smart, you're not going to get nowhere.
Then you can overtrain.
Yeah, you're going to overtrain, and you're not getting no better because you're not working smart.
Right.
So many boxers have now gone to basically strength and conditioning. So my friend Tom Yankello has started a channel. And Tom Yankello has a channel, and his thing is he teaches boxing.
Is it a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
How do you say his name?
Tom Yankello.
How do you spell that?
Yankello. Okay. And his thing, he has a thing where he starts to teach because he realizes there's not a lot of coaches left in boxing. So he's teaching boxing the right way. You understand me? And with that being said, he's going to help give back to people because if you just go on YouTube and look him up, you'll see him. But he got a lot of stuff on me on that right now. There you go.
There it is.
Okay,
I've seen him work with you.
Yes.
So he's those little flippy pads. Those are like they're different, right?
Yes.
What do you like about those?
Well, I like them because they don't hurt your hands. If you're a big puncher like I am, you ain't got to worry about hurting your hands. But the ones where guys hold with their hands, they hurt your hands. But yeah, he gives a lot of knowledge. He teaches a lot. He teaches the sport the right way. You understand me? So I like people like him because he's doing his thing the way it's supposed to be done.
Well, the beautiful opportunity that people have now to learn shit on YouTube that just was not available before. You could spend day after day after day watching YouTube videos and instructions and watching old fights too.
Of course. I mean, old fights is some of the best knowledge you're going to get.
Yeah.
But having somebody like him that's also teaching it helps you a whole lot.
Out of all the old fighters, is there one that really stands out to you that you enjoyed watching?
Sugar Ray Robinson probably was the one I watched the most, but my favorite fight of all time is Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Salvador Sanchez would be my second and third. Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Salvador Sanchez. And you can mix them in any kind of way because I got my top 3 qualities from those 3.
What'd you get from Muhammad Ali?
How to be a showman and how to have class inside and outside of the ring. And how to outthink your opponent with your mind before you beat him with your fists.
No one played better mind games than him.
Exactly.
And he was doing it back when nobody did.
Exactly.
The Sonny Liston fight,
exactly.
when they were almost not going to let him fight. They thought he was crazy. They're like, your blood pressure's off the charts, man.
He did that every time. Yeah. He did that every time because he got so hyper before he fought.
Yeah. But he was, what a unique human being. He was about as unique as it gets. I always point to people I say, if you look at Muhammad Ali, you got to look at Muhammad Ali before they made him take 3 years off. You watch the Cleveland Big Cat Williams fight. I'm like, ain't a fucking heavyweight that move like that.
Not with that kind of speed, not with that kind of footwork. I mean, come on, the dude.
Footwork, precision, everything.
It's like, man was faster than the middleweight.
Literally, no bullshit. Literally, faster than a middleweight and a full-blown heavyweight with length and reach and power and everything.
Couldn't deal with it.
And then also as a human being outside of the ring, I mean, a cultural force. I remember when I was a kid, my parents weren't boxing fans at all. But when Muhammad Ali was making that comeback fight against Leon Spinks, he lost to Spinks the first time, and then the second time they're fighting again, my parents watched it. Like, we want to see him win the title back. And it wasn't, my parents were hippies.
Right.
They weren't boxing fans, but he stood for more than boxing. He stood for what's good in the world. He stood for rejecting evil. This is a man who gave up his career because he didn't want to fight in Vietnam because he thought the war was wrong.
And people don't understand, but that's the second reason I accepted the Russian citizenship. Because Muhammad Ali showed me that we live here as one. We shouldn't live as individuals. We should live here as one. Everybody should be respected, looked upon equal. You understand me?
Yes.
And because the Russians did that, that's why I accepted what they gave me, because they're looking at me as equal. Not that I'm an athlete, not that I'm a boxer, not that I'm black, but that I'm equal. And that they love what I did, they love what I stood for, and they would love to invite me to be a part of their culture as well as the United States.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. Yep. You talk about a country that has a great history of combat sports too, man. My God. Between wrestling, MMA, boxing. I mean, there's so many of these up-and-coming boxers now that also are these great fighters that happen to be Russian.
But everything is carrying over now because
Yeah.
of the internet. People can now see things differently, and you can learn. Like I said, you can look at this and you can watch old fights over and over and learn what your favorite fighter did, or what his attributes were, or what you like about it, what made him great. That's why I used to look for what made people great. Like, you understand this. I got my left body shot from Eddie Mustafa Muhammad back when he was Eddie Gregory.
Oh, wow. Wow. Pre-Spinks.
Exactly right.
Wow.
That's why I got my left liver shot from Eddie Gregory, also known as Eddie Mustafa Muhammad.
He became a great trainer,
You
too,
better
by the
believe
way.
it. You better believe it.
Yeah, wow. That's old school, man.
Yes, sir. And I got my defense. I could go a whole round without getting hit from Wilfred Benitez. Best defensive fighter besides Billy Pep, I think, to ever live.
He was pretty special. Well, you got to throw Pernell Whitaker in that.
Well, he was
too.
good defensive too, but he wasn't as defensive as those guys were.
Yeah, there's so many greats to study and learn little bits and pieces from. I mean, that was one of the big things that Mike Tyson did, of course. He just spent a giant chunk of his youth watching.
And that's what people don't understand about Mike. Mike is very well versed in boxing. He knows what the hell he's doing. He knows how to solve a puzzle in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
More so than anything else in life, he knows how to solve any riddle he needs to solve in a boxing ring. People don't give him enough credit for that.
No, they don't. I mean, Mike Tyson he's a fascinating human being, and his mind is he has things that he focuses on. And that's where you find out who he is.
Yep.
When you talk to him about the things he focuses on.
Because he knows a lot about the things that he focuses on.
Exactly.
A lot more than you ever expect.
Yeah, he's intense when he talks to you about the things that are interesting and important to him. You see that intensity. That's when it all comes out.
Yep.
Now, you're 51 now?
Yep.
What is the difference between training at 51 than training at 31?
At 51, you need 1 or 2 more days to recover than you did at 31. Stuff that hurts, it hurts a little bit longer at 51 than it did at 31.
Are you doing things differently?
Yeah, you got to do things differently. You have to take days off a little bit more frequent than you would have wanted to back when you were 31. When I was 31, I didn't need no days off all the time. At 51, after about 2 or 3 days, you have to say, okay, let me hold up a minute, because if you don't, then Nia say, okay, you might want to go, but I ain't going today.
Right. So are you using any technology in terms of like heart rate monitors just going by feel?
I'm old school.
Yeah, I do.
I go by feel. I feel it today, I get it today. I don't feel it today, we'll rest and get it tomorrow.
Are you using any new school recovery methods like are you using sauna? Are you using ice punch?
I do a little ice. I did a couple of little things I tried. One thing that made me stop, I was doing a thing called Protect, I think, and they said I got to stop because it got something in it that didn't work. So,
what is that?
Protect, it's a thing like they're giving you, it's for my knees, basically. And it's supposed to help get the cartilage back in my knees.
Oh, okay. So wasn't working?
It was working, but they said there are things that may not pass the test if you take a test, so you got to stop. You can't do that anymore. So I couldn't do it, but I really enjoyed it because it made my knee feel a lot better. But so you got to be careful now because like there's something on there that may not.
Some forbidden thing.
Yes.
It's called Protect.
It's called Protect. Yeah.
See, what is that? Okay. I'm curious about that because my knees were all fucked up.
Yeah. So, I got a couple people that can help you out with your knees though, because there's another lady down where I live, Dr. Deborah. She can really help the knees out too. She's the one who gave me a shot with the Protect, but she has another product that she uses. Now I think hers may pass the test. So I don't know. I'm not gonna take it this time because I was trying business with the doctor told me that I can't do it again, so I got to stop.
Now, what kind of testing are they doing for this fight?
They said they're doing regular fight testing, so just like they would do in a normal fight, we're gonna get tested as though we were regular athletes, as though we were fighting a regular sanctioned fight. Father has already been to my house with us.
Father?
Yes.
So you can't be on any testosterone replacement, no growth hormone, no peptides, no nothing. Just 51 years of life.
Yeah, and if you ain't got it in them 51 years of life, then too bad you ain't getting it.
Well, it certainly helps if you had it and never lost it.
Right.
And we were talking about that before we got here. Like, you never stop moving.
Now I never stop moving, so that's a good thing for me.
Yeah, it's when we were kids and we looked at 51-year-olds.
We thought they were super old. That was grandfathers.
Yeah, they were dead. They were throwing triple left hooks with lightning speed.
Not at 51.
No, not at 51. Yeah. So just the days off, that's the only thing that's different.
That's really well, I don't go as long when I train.
What's a typical session for you?
A typical session is now 12 to 13, 12, maybe 15 rounds max. Usually it was 16 to 24 rounds. Mm-hmm. Now it's like 12 to 15 max. And some of those are low impact rounds because you don't overdo it. Because you do too much, tear the tendons in your arm again, mess your hands up again. You don't mess nothing up, but the fight does not happen.
Now, do you have a person who's making your schedule, or do you do everything yourself?
I do a little bit of it myself. I got a few people that help out. You know, my wife helps out some, but she doing her thing with the She Warrior brand as well. So She Warrior, IamSheWarrior.com. Make sure y'all check that, especially get your wife the stuff.
Yes, thank you.
So yeah, you can put it up. IamSheWarrior.com.
So she helps you put your schedule together as well?
She helped me put my schedule together, and she trains with us every day.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so we're doing some good
right here.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, very nice.
That's what I'm trying to get.
Embrace every challenge as a strong, confident woman you are. Yeah. Now, what about when you were briefly talking about strength and conditioning? Do you do strength and conditioning? Like you see a lot of these fighters are doing like circuit training, high intensity, like kettlebells. And
I do a little
ropes
bit. I do a little bit of that, but I don't make that a vital part of my workout. I get up and do it in the mornings, like 3 or 4 days a week. I got a friend named Leaf usually. He brings this guy over and we go to work. We do it like 3 or 4 days a week. And we don't make that a priority because I'm not a weightlifter. I'm a football player.
Right.
So boxing still should have to be your priority. You want to be in shape too, but don't mistake fitness over boxing skills. Some people now prefer fitness over boxing skills. But when you run to a guy that has boxing skills and a little bit of fitness, he gonna beat you.
Yeah. The most important thing is efficiency and skill. And
boxing skills.
How did that happen where this thing got confused that way?
Well, I think what really happened is a lot of the foreigners started picking up a little bit about boxing skills too. And they were always super fit, but they didn't have boxing skills. Now that they have the internet, they can get the boxing skills. So they can pick up 1 or 2 little tricks, put it with that conditioning, and you're finna get beat. Because they can do this all night.
Well, when you see a guy who's like super strong and super fit and dominates people with that, it tempts people into like thinking
that's the way.
Like Arthur Bitterbeef.
That's exactly right.
Woo!
Super strong guy.
That motherfucker's a tank.
A killer.
He's such a tank.
Killer.
I love watching that guy fight.
But he's been down twice too, though.
Yes, he has. But he gets in wars.
Yeah,
he gets in wars. But that fucking guy, he is seek and destroy
one of the strongest pound for pound punches I've ever seen.
Ever. I mean, I'm a giant fan of his, and I love watching his fights because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get seek and destroy every fight.
And see, the problem is, in our country, we're not open-minded, bro, to be able to see good fights no matter what race they are. Because if you think about it, Arthur Bitterbeef and B-Ball, Dimitri B-Ball, would be a sugary lemon ton of hands type fight
huge
now.
right now. There he is. Look at that motherfucker. He's so jacked.
These 2 guys can freaking punch and they both can fight. You feel me?
Yeah, I just think people maybe don't have the understanding and appreciation of boxing as a whole as they used to back in your day.
Yeah, we're more closed-minded. You know what I mean? So.
Well, it's unfortunate because I think he's like 37 now. So he's
getting to the later stages of his life.
He's in his prime still, but he's like the outside edges. What was it? 35. Oh, that's not that bad. So, but still, really, from 35 on is when, unless you're Bernard Hopkins. Fucking that guy, man. Woo. And again, but that guy speaks to discipline and boxing skill, right?
Of course.
I mean, that's what led Bernard Hopkins to have such an incredible career.
That's right, because of the boxing skills, not just the strength and conditioning, but boxing skills along with the strength and conditioning.
I remember back when he was the executioner, when he fought Felix Trinidad. People were already counting him out. They were like, he's too old. And you think about, he knocked out Felix Trinidad. I want to say he was like 36 back then. And that was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. He went on to have this incredible career post 36.
And he won't tell nobody the truth ever. But he came to Pensacola before he did that and asked me what should he do now. Because he really wanted to fight me again too, in a sense, but it wasn't really the money that he wanted. So I told him, listen, you could beat all those small guys. You don't have to worry. Fight Felix Trinidad, I still hold in the world. Be your name big up. And you'll get somewhere. And he did exactly that. I know he wanted to tell nobody the truth that I told him that, but I did. And I ain't got no reason to lie to you. I did. Just like I told Tyson Fury that if he just took 5 years of his life and dedicated it back to boxing, he beat the majority of the heavyweights out there to get back to world on top. Mentally, he can beat them. He's mentally better than most of them, but he got to dedicate himself to the sport. And look where he at right now.
Well, it's funny that, you know, when you talk to Tyson Fury, his father told him to not take the first Deontay Wilder fight. He said, you're not ready. He said, you haven't fully recovered physically from all the years of drinking and abuse that he's put on his body. He just, you know, after he beat Vladimir Klitschko and won the title, you know, he kind of went crazy for a while. And he was open about that, about his issues with alcoholism and mental illness. But his father was like, you haven't come back yet. You're not all the way back.
Right.
So they have that fight. Fight ends in a draw. Crazy fight. And then the rematch. Jesus Christ. It was like the seeing him take it to Deontay Wilder. You want to talk about a hard puncher. Deontay Wilder is one of the freakiest punchers I've ever seen in my life. Freaky.
Yeah.
Freaky powerful.
With the right hand especially.
Yeah. Freaky. When he knocked out Ortiz with that right hand to the forehead and just flatlined him, he was like, he's sitting there like, what in the fuck just happened? He just crazy power. But Tyson Fury's boxing skill, his boxing skill, and the fact that he started training with Sugar Hill, Kronk fighter, before that, Kronk trainer, and had that super aggressive, in-your-face style. And just really used those boxing skills and got super aggressive in the rematch and had Deontay on the back heel.
That was the main thing. And when you're not as powerful as a Deontay, you have to think of other ways to do it. And the fact that when they fight Tyson Fury, same thing happened with Klitschko. They're not punching down or straight ahead. They got to punch up. That takes a lot of power away from those good right hand punches. And if you have a good Joe Frazier type, George Foreman type hook, or Ken Norton type hook, then you're going to be in trouble if you got to punch uphill. Now, the hook is still deadly uphill, but the right hand going uphill takes a little bit off of it. That's just the law of gravity. If you don't know that, there's something wrong with it.
I was just amazed he got up after the 12th round of the first fight.
I was too. I truly was too.
When you know what a crusher Deontay is, and the fact he went right hand and then left hook on the way down, and then went like this, because it's like it's over.
And that's what really shocked him the most. That put him in a state of shock for Fury to come off of that floor and come back the way he did.
And come back and win the rest of the round.
He'd never had nobody do that to him before in his life, I guarantee.
No.
Guarantee.
I couldn't believe he did it.
Guarantee he never had nobody in his life to do him like Tyson Fury did that in his life.
I think that's one of the greatest comebacks ever in a round.
Without a question.
To have him flat, like, I thought it was over.
Yep.
I remember watching it at home. I went, oh! I'm on the front of my bed going, oh! 12th round! Stopped him in the 12th round. And Deontay, 209 pounds for that fight, which is crazy. I mean, he's about as light as anyone who's ever fought for the title and been a title holder. And then also you think about how many fights he won by KO. He won all his fights by KO except one.
But that hurt him though, because he never had to box. So now he don't know how to box and go that way. He don't, go this way. He knows how to go this way, but he never had to learn how to box and go that way. And that hurt him when he met somebody that can fight going both ways. So the first way Tyson Fury fought him going like this. Second way Tyson Fury fought him going like this.
Straightforward. What advice would you give Deontay? Like if he came to you, if he's listening to this, because I've heard that Floyd is interested in training him, but if he came to you, what advice would you give to him?
Well, we go back to learning how to use our jab and developing our left hand. Because once we develop the left hand, the right hand already left. We don't need that. We learn how to operate with developing that left hand. We develop the left hand, make it become a weapon before the right hand. Now it's hard to do the left hand. We add the right to it, we unstoppable.
So that you would concentrate on the left hand
right away.
How much time would you give him if you said, like, if we have all the time in the world, it's up to you to pick when the next fight is? How much time would you like to see him spend working on something like that?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah. 6 months, and nobody would beat him. They have a hard time beating him. But it'll take him 6 months.
Would you want him? What would you want him to do with his footwork? Because one of the things about Deontay is he throws everything into his punches, and sometimes.
And that's what we would change. That's why we would focus on the left hand more. Because the left hand right now, he don't think it's a killer hand. He throws a jab with it, but he's looking to kill with the right hand.
Right.
So you got to become. You got to make him diverse. You got to be a kid with the left or the right, and you got to make everything used as a unit. You got to make him use everything as a unit. If you don't make him use everything as a unit, then it's not good for him. So to focus on one punch kind of takes everything else out the game. If that one punch don't work, what are you going to do nothing?
Now, in his struggles with backing up and moving back, what would you have him do with that? Would you have him concentrate on cutting angles?
No, we know how to fix that too, but that's part of that jab.
Right.
You know, it's how we use the left hand. The left hand going to allow us to go in every direction whenever we need to. But the left hand is most important. Left hand and feet as defense.
Now, do you ever reach out to fighters if you see a fighter like that have a loss?
No. Now, often, only fighter I ever tried to reach out to was, I forget the guy's name, Linares. But Linares was about to fight Lomachenko because I knew it was going to be a good fight. And I was going to reach out to him, but he had a trainer, so I didn't even reach out to him. But I would, if he would have asked, I would have accepted that because that's a hard fight for him to fight. And I know Linares is a good guy, but he had a chance to win the fight. But the way they trained him to fight it took all of it away.
It's interesting because you, as a multiple division world champion, but also a commentator, when you were doing it for HBO, you could point out little things
right away.
Yeah. Did you ever have fighters come up to you and thank you for
Thank me, tell me what I told them, tell me what I said they need to get better at, tell me I made them a better fighter after they listened to the commentary and saw the mistakes that they were making. So often I can look at a guy and break him down right away.
It's also got to be crazy for a fighter to be fighting. And, I mean, I know there's a giant amount of them that were huge Roy Jones Jr. fans, and now they're looking over, and you're talking about them while they're fighting. That's got to be a trip.
My guy got Andrew. I think it's Andrew Murphy's last name. I ain't sure Andrew's last name is. But Andrew, he always says, they said, I'm so amazed still that I'm here taking instructions from you. You understand me? And Bryant says it too, so it's just they always... They're happy though to be there. So I got another kid named Mark, 12th guy from Mobile, Alabama. So and Waylon, my next door neighbor, 15 years old. He's gonna be a banger too. So. But they love taking instruction from me, and I enjoy it. So that's how it is.
Well, it's obviously you enjoy it, and for them, that's first of all, it's an amazing honor for them, but also it's got to be so motivational.
Yeah,
you know,
it is, and I think for them to really see me still getting active at 51, now they're like, wow, he still does it like that. So. Now we understand what he's saying. Because how can we be slower than him? He's 51. And we can't do it that fast. So we got problems. Yes, y'all got major issues. Like, get off your asses and let's go.
Well, it's just beautiful to see how much energy you have, and how much enthusiasm you have. And that's really what life's all about, right?
Yes, it is, man. It's about having energy, being a positive force in the world, and just helping other people. You know? You do that, you're doing the right thing. If you're not doing that, then you're almost wasting time. Why did God give you life? You're not going to help it.
Beautiful. I love it. Roy Jones Jr., November 28th. I'm going to be watching. I think I'm going to be there. I
hope you are there. I think I'm going to
go. I think I'm allowed to go if I just have to take a COVID test and I can sit.
I really appreciate it. I would love for you to be there. I'm starting me a YouTube channel too soon, so be on the lookout for that.
Let me know what that is, and I will promote that for you. I'll let everybody know.
And I'll be back on here soon, too.
Let's do it.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you very much, man.
Thank you.
Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Colin Quinn, I had to move to Texas to get you on this podcast. I tried forever to get you in LA. You said no chance.
Not true.
Oh, okay.
Every time we see each other, we just, I was always like, I'll get out there one of those days. I'm glad I waited this long. It's kind of, I can savor, I can appreciate it.
I'm savoring it right now.
If I was on one of the first podcasts, I'd be like, I was on Joe's and I was on this one. This is like, you're getting the respect you deserve now.
I see. What is it like in the lockdown for you? You still living in New York?
Yeah, I live in New York.
Is it weird?
Yeah, I mean, I was telling everybody, it's it's very. It's not like people are like, oh, it's like New York in the '70s. Now the '70s was a whole different world, but now it's all boarded up stores. The store on my corner, like the corner bodega, basically just closed, and it was it was around for a long time, and. It's depressing. Like, you on the subway, there's only a few people on, and it still smells. It smells as bad. They've been cleaning it every day, and it still stinks. It doesn't even smell better. That's how ingrained it is. And, the pigeons are homeless because Antifa took down all the statues, so they have no place to live. And, it's a very weird place.
You can't say, like, people that say it's like the 70s, like, no, the 70s, it was the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. It was like, it didn't change much. It was seedy and weird, but it was always like that. This is a drastic change from 6 months ago. You can't say it's like the 70s because it's not. It's like something's deteriorated. There's a collapse.
Right.
And then there's all this weirdness that comes along with that.
Well, the 70s was kind of a collapse, but it was a different type. So, like, in the 70s, all the stores at night would be locked up, but they were open during the day. So at night, if anybody was out after 9 at night, that was on them. But it was not like now. It's just you're walking down deserted streets. There's nobody out. You know what I mean?
Have you always lived in New York?
Depressing. Yeah.
So it was sketchy in the 70s.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I did a whole show about it basically. But I mean, it was basically like one of the jokes from my own New York story was that, and it wasn't a joke. It was if you walk down your block because there's no cell phone. So if you walk down the block from the train after 9 at night, people would lean out the window and be like genuinely surprised, like, good for you. You made it home. If you stayed out after 9, like Times Square, people would go to Broadway shows. By 11 o'clock, it was deserted, except for criminals. Because people would leave Broadway show, they wouldn't go out for a drink or dinner. They would get in their car and get out immediately.
And Giuliani's the one who cleaned all that shit up.
Giuliani cleaned it up, yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That guy gets no respect now.
No, I know. He went a little crazy, but he did what no politician has ever done in history, which is he said, I'm going to transform this, and he did.
He turned it around.
Yeah.
He really did.
He really did.
Maybe a little too far. Like at a certain
may
point,
have been a little too far.
Times Square became like a mall.
Yes, Times Square is very uninspiring.
It became like a big Applebee's.
But that's exactly what it's like. And even though, like, now I look back and I'm like, oh, Taxi Driver, New York, it was edgy, it was fun. But at the time, it was no joke. People, I glamorized it through rose-colored glasses, but it was serious.
Yeah, that's the thing about crime in crime-ridden areas. Like, people always glamorize it after the fact, but if you're living there while it's going down, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah. I mean, most people loved New York once he took over. In the 90s, people forget that.
Yeah.
That everybody was just like, oh, I can go out at night. Oh, I can work. I can, I mean, before that, it was crazy. And I used to bartend around Times Square, and I mean, the stuff you saw, was just blue. You know what I mean?
Well, one of the things we're finding out from this lockdown is that it really is important who your mayor is. It used to be important. You didn't really care. People didn't care who the mayor of L.A. was. Half the people didn't even know.
That's right.
And now they're like, who is this motherfucker that's keeping everything closed?
Yeah.
And the same thing with New York, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, de Blasio from day one. A lot of people are like, ugh. And now everybody hates him.
But this is his second term.
Yes.
He got reelected.
Oh, he swept both elections.
That's hilarious. And now we're finding out.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a dipshit.
Yeah.
It took something where it's a crisis where you realize, like, this is not a leader.
And everybody hated Bloomberg for running a third term. They wish they had him for a fifth now.
Yeah.
Remember, he was like, oh, he's forced himself to run for a third. Now, but he misses, a guy like him.
Could he go back? Could he run again? Because he can't be president. No one's not going to go for president.
But I don't know. He was so terrible in the debate. It's so funny because the thing about Bloomberg that disappointed me was when he was mayor. When he first got elected mayor, I was Darrell Hammond had to bail on some show he was supposed to do. So at the last minute, they asked me to do a favor and do a guest shot at the show, which I go up. Really didn't go that well, but it was, I did what he was asked me to do.
What kind of show? What was it?
A stand-up show.
But it was a stand-up show for Bloomberg?
Yeah, Bloomberg was trying to get the Olympics here or something. I think it was the Olympics. So he asked me to, Darryl was supposed to do a show and he had something else. So I ran over. I lived in Midtown. I literally ran over, did the show in front of the Olympic Committee or whatever the committee was. I think it was Olympics. And, 30 people in this uncomfortable room. And then afterwards, Bloomberg shook my hand, and I knew he was already a billionaire. And he goes, I owe you one. I go, thanks. He goes, no. I don't just say that. I always repay my debts. I owe you one. So I was kind of hoping to be president, and then I could call in my chit, because I never did the whole time he was mayor. I realized he was busy. I let it slide. But
He still owes you, though, huh?
yeah.
You got it on a ledger somewhere?
No, but I just have my oral. I believe in the oral. I have the oral history. Oh yeah. I mean, I thought it came right out, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's not
you
like
got it.
Oh yeah.
So maybe if he becomes mayor. Can you become mayor again? How does that work? Can't be president again. Can you be mayor again?
I guess you can. Yeah, why not? There's probably no law.
Well, governor of California, that Jerry Brown guy, he became governor again.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you can be governor, you've got to be mayor.
Like he was governor in like the 90s, like the early 90s, I think.
I think in the 80s. Because I think Johnny Carson used to make those jokes.
Correct. Didn't he win again in D.C. for being mayor?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, you're
Marion
right.
Barry.
Yeah, Marion Barry. Yeah.
So there you go.
I wonder how many terms he did, though. Like, I wonder if there's like a limit on how many terms he could be. You're more politically minded than I am. Like, do you?
I don't know
about
that kind of stuff, though, no.
How many terms can you be a mayor? Because someone like Bloomberg has got to come back in and clean New York City up. Because you're not going to get there with this social justice warrior attitude that de Blasio has. It's just going to lead to
More.
complete deterioration of that city.
Yeah, but it may be too late. You never know.
Too late.
You never know. I mean, nobody likes to think of New York that way. But it's like a lot of people, so many people moved that I was shocked moved to the suburbs that I was like, wow, this is serious. Like, I didn't really believe it. Just because I'm so New York, like, I don't even think in terms of leaving New York, even though, it's irrevocably changed to me before any of this happened. But so many people moved out. I was like, this is getting serious.
What did you think about that Altucher, Jerry Seinfeld little feud about New York is dead, fuck you, no it's not?
Yeah. I mean, look, you can argue either side of it and be right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be dead, but at the same time, I'm not going to pretend it's not in deep trouble.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I
just don't know how it gets out. That's what my worry is.
I know.
Unless COVID gets cured, and then Ari Shaffir thinks artists are going to start moving in again, but he's one of those guys.
Right.
He's got that, because it needs to be gritty. New York City needs to be gritty.
Right. And
He's one of those guys.
Yeah. But
Never been mugged, that's why. Never really had the fuck beat out of him.
Yeah. You do need a couple of those in life.
You just need to know that it's possible.
You just need to be like, ow.
What does gritty mean to you? Let me tell you. It ain't it's not Midnight Cowboy. That's a movie.
Yeah.
Real gritty is you get stabbed and then it gets infected.
Yeah.
And then you're in the hospital for 6 months.
Yeah, you need to at least ever had regretted laughing because you're holding your broken rib at least for 6 weeks in a row. You're like, is this ever going to get better?
Yeah, it's that gritty shit is like, boy, yeah, I see what you're saying. I kind of get, I know, yeah, some places that are gritty, they're fun.
Yeah, no, it's fun. And like I said, when I'm watching Taxi Driver, I'm like, yeah, I miss New York. But I mean, I remember walking through Times Square. We don't have to ask what I was doing. At 12 o'clock at night, by myself, 1980, 81, and literally, they had like thieves' dens above the porno theaters. They had thieves' dens. So like, they had a little turnstile. I went in once with this kid. He was taking me there. I forget what we were trying to do, something shady, I'm sure. And we went up, and it was like 50, like thieves, like Oliver, only New York.
Really?
Like a gang of people with, illegal goods, trading illegal goods, right up on 42nd Street. It was crazy. So you'd see gangs running down. If anybody they would just swarm somebody, take their stuff, leave them on the ground, and just keep going.
The thing about it is, though, the disrespect to the police right now,
right?
It leads it to a very difficult situation of trying to bring it back. It's like that wasn't the case in the 80s and the 90s. People respected the police. Like when Giuliani brought it back, there wasn't this overall nationwide resentment of the police force like we're having now, which is pretty unprecedented.
Well, I mean, there sort of was in New York, actually, at that time. There's a couple of incidents where, but yes, not like this.
This is a different level.
This is a luxury that people are able to indulge themselves by putting all, lightning rod sort of, you know what I mean? Like, the police, to me, it's like a proxy war, you know what I mean? Everybody knows cops. Everybody knows cops are nuts. We all had the friend that you grew up with. You're like, whatever happened to him? He became a cop. He became a cop. But no one denies that part. Even cops know that about themselves. But that being said, it's easy for everybody to just go, okay, like I say, proxy war. So all the bottled up racial resentment in the country, and it's like the people that have to actually go and say, hey, listen, here's what has to happen. They're going to be the fall guy for that, and that's what I mean. That's what this is, in my opinion.
Well, you know what it is? It's like social media only captures the things that are viral, right? The things that you're going to watch are only going to be viral, and the ones that go viral are the ones that are really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to see... there's no viral videos of a cop pulling a guy over and having a laugh with him. And so, listen, man, you're going 63 and a 55. Just do me a favor, slow it down. All right, sir, I'm a big fan of the police. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Shake your hand. Bye. Take care. No, instead, you have some asshole grabbing some black woman and pulling her out of the car and body slamming her. And you're like, these motherfuckers, they keep doing this.
Right.
But you could have millions of interactions with cops.
Yeah.
And you're only going to see one, and you decide that all cops are pieces of shit. When there's these hundreds of thousands of cops that are great guys. They're just doing a really difficult job and trying to keep it together. But one or two a week is going to go bad. And that's all you need to know. And everybody thinks that the world is falling apart. Because you see those videos, and those videos get 2, 3, 4, 5 million downloads, and everybody just thinks that all cops are terrible people. It's not the case.
Right. No, exactly.
But try telling people that, and they think you're a cop apologist.
Yeah, they say
you're a piece of shit. Yeah, you're a white supremacist.
Right.
Yeah. Stand down and stand by.
That's right.
What the fuck was that? What Trump? I tell the white supremacists to stand down and stand by.
And it's one of those moments where you're like, it's basically the one thing you wouldn't... It reminds me like... Not like Nero fiddling while Rome burns. I feel like it's when all the Roman senators go, so what are you going to do now, Nero? And he starts taking the fiddle out of the case and like, no, he's not going to fucking... Is he going to fiddle right now?
He's really fiddling?
He's kidding, right?
But he did... you were saying earlier when we were talking outside that he had just called the KKK... What did he just...
I didn't say that. Somebody else.
Oh, somebody else was out there saying that he called them a terrorist group, right? Didn't he say that? Like,
I don't know.
Was that the case, Jamie? Someone out there was saying... Someone in the law... I forget who said it. He called the KKK a terrorist group like the week before, or labeled them. Is that true?
I don't know about wording it that way is correct. I don't think he called them that.
Well, let's see what he said.
He didn't call them that. The White House labeled them.
Oh, the
that.
White House labeled them a terrorist group.
He didn't say it somewhere or whatever.
Right. But that opportunity, it was so funny. Like he's telling Joe Biden, I want you to say law and order. You can't even say it. You can't even say it. And he didn't say it.
Right.
And then he said, I want you to denounce white supremacy. And then Chris Wallace is like, Mr. President, do you denounce white supremacy? I tell them to stand down and stand by. Like, people that were, his strategists probably like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's like,
will you say stand by?
He's like, whoa, hey, come on. I don't want to go that good. What about just...
All he had to do was say, yes, I denounce white supremacy.
Of course.
That's all he had to say.
See, but that's why you should be moderating this debate. Because you could be physically grabbing both of them and saying, listen, here's what's going to happen now. Instead, Chris Wallace like, excuse me, guys, what up? You know what I mean? He's not... You need alpha... You have to be able to physically walk up to the podiums and put people...
Well, that's what I was saying. They need Big John McCarthy. They need the UFC referee, Big John McCarthy. He's a big, giant dude. He can handle that shit. He would tell people to sit the fuck down. He was a cop.
Yeah.
He knows how to, control. I would be laughing. The problem with me, I would be like, oh my God, what a shit show. I would turn to the camera. I'd break the wall. I'd be like, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We got a real fucking problem here.
Yeah. Folks, you may want to tap out on this country.
Yeah, I'd be like, Jesus, Canada doesn't look so bad right now.
Yeah.
I know that Justin Trudeau's kind of a pussy, but...
they said a lot of... What do you mean he was a boxer?
Was he?
Yeah.
I played basketball a couple times. I don't call myself a basketball player.
Well, maybe he's the kind of boxer where they're like, hey, listen, that's the Prime Minister's son, so if he hits you, just flinch, don't hit him.
Oh, one of those.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Yeah, I've seen that before. No, I'm sure. Actually, I do think he did have a boxing match. He's a little too handsome for my taste.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
Beautiful man. He did blackface at least 30 or 40 times.
That's right.
Didn't he?
In Canada, it's different.
I think he played like Indian people or something.
That's what it was. Right.
Black. He was like brownish.
Yes, it's indigenous face.
Yeah. It is kind of funny. Like
it's
white
First
face,
Nations
white faces, like no problem at all.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah.
You could be white face. No one cares.
Oh,
Can you play a redhead if you're not a redhead? Is there any shame in that?
Well, would you want to is the first question. But second of all, no.
If someone had to do like the Andrew Santino story.
But I don't know Andrew Santino.
He's a comic
Can't we make
from
it Bill
LA.
Burr?
Very fun. Yeah, but Bill Burr's he's bald now.
He's too bald to be called a redhead.
It's like it's hard to call him a redhead now. Who would like Carrot Top? Okay, Carrot Top.
Yeah.
That's the most famous. Like clearly, I mean, it's in his name, Carrot Top.
Yeah.
Right. Could you be? Is there any shame in that? No.
No.
Know why? Nobody ever owned redheads.
No.
Maybe
That's
they
right.
did. Because there were a lot of Irish slaves, right?
Yeah. Back in
That's
the day,
true.
the whole thing was Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the original redheads were. Well, it's probably from the Scandinavians. The Vikings had a lot of redheads, like Eric the Red.
Oh, right.
That's the only reason I think the Vikings had redheads. The guy's name was Eric the Red. Probably had a red beard and blonde hair.
Probably covered in blood too, right?
Oh my God.
Those motherfuckers. You ever see those people in Iceland that win those strongman competitions?
Yes.
They're the remnants of the Vikings.
They are beasts.
Enormous human beings that live in the frozen north where the Vikings lived.
The only thing I know is that the word berserk comes from them. Berserkers.
Yeah.
They used to come down and go berserk.
You know what they used to do? They used to take mushrooms.
They did?
Yeah, that was their big thing. They would take mushrooms and slaughter.
Now, wait a minute. Where'd they get mushrooms up there? I thought mushrooms were from South America.
No, mushrooms are from all throughout Europe. Mushrooms are all throughout North America. They're native to a lot of different climates.
Well,
they would preserve them too. They would get them in the summertime and then they preserve them in the wintertime. But I'm 99% sure that was a part of the history of the Vikings, is that they would take a lot of mushrooms.
well, when I was growing up, I mean, I consider myself the early...
Here we go. Fly algaric mushroom. Yeah, that's the Amanita muscaria. The first account of Vikings going berserk because they ate magic mushrooms was hypothesized in 1784 by a Christian priest named Odman. He came to a conclusion that connected the berserkers to the fly algaric mushroom because he read that Siberian shamans did the same thing when they were healing. That show Vikings?
Yeah.
You ever see that show? It's a
No.
good show. Fun show. They take mushrooms in that show.
But the...
Did Vikings eat mushrooms? Let's see that. See, that's they connected to the Amanita muscaria, red and white mushroom. So that's not the same mushroom. In the Viking movie, or the Viking television show, it looks like they're taking psilocybin. Some scholars propose that certain examples of the berserker rage had been induced voluntarily by the consumption of drugs, such as the hallucinogenic mushroom Amanita muscaria, or massive amounts of alcohol.
But here's my problem. Is that when I was growing up, we ate a lot of mescaline, which is basically mushrooms in organic, it was
Sort
like
of.
chemical. What's that?
Sort of. Mescaline is
Well, we ate
actually
mushrooms
peyote.
too. Yeah.
But mescaline is I think it's in the stimulant category. I
Well,
think it's-
even more so, this is going to prove my point. When you're eating mescaline, acid, any of this stuff, mushrooms, you don't tend to want to get violent.
that's true. But
So-
if you live in a completely violent world
Right.
and you took mushrooms, I don't think it would turn you peaceful.
No, and it turn you peaceful, but you might be like, I'm just going to stay in the forge. These guys are going on a stupid trip. You're going to go on an 18-hour trip to go and rampage through some civilization. You're not
Here's
gonna
why I
do that.
disagree. It's become a thing with fighters to take mushrooms and fight.
What?
Yeah, it's actually really common, and the thing is, they're not really testing for it. So there's certain fighters that are taking mushrooms and then competing in kickboxing, competing in MMA
On mushrooms.
On mushrooms, yeah.
That's that's one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
Well, they say it makes them way more effective, and then they almost can read things better. They're locked in better.
I could see locking in, but you also get trails and stuff like that. This goes on,
Maybe it's how much you take. Like, maybe just take a dose that's... Also, you got to realize these people are, their adrenaline's through the roof. Like, the effects of the mushrooms probably very different if you're about to go into a fight.
My adrenaline was through the roof when I was 17. Now listen, Doc Ellis, of course, took the acid. That was a famous one, right?
Yeah, but that's
Did he
not
have a good
violent.
game?
Oh yeah, he's pitching no hitter.
He pitched a no.
Yeah, pitching no hitter on acid. But there's real evidence that though, in some circumstances, psychedelics can enhance your performance.
Well, I'll tell you a story. Probably the third time I took acid. Maybe I was 16, and this is a fight. It's got violence in it, but it's not that I was. So I was at a Sweet 16 in Brooklyn. It was a mob. It was a mob run place. So you do Sweet 16. This has a lot to do with my whole life when I really look back on it. So I was 16, I was in love with this girl. She wasn't dating me, but she was at the party. But the way they set it up, so it's like, here's a sweet 16, here's an office party. They're all in the same room. And then there's a stage down at the bottom, and here's, some guy that, just got his, you retired from the, job, whatever his job. Then you have, so it's like 15 different events of 2 tables each at this place, Palm Shores Club, it's called in Brooklyn. So I'm at the party with my friends, and there's this girl I'm in love with, but I haven't dated. Yeah, we ended up going out for a couple of years, but so I'm tripping on acid, and then one of the other groups that was with our group, because the girl in Sweet 16 had our other friends there too. One of these guys sold pot to the girl I loved. Sold her a bag of weed. So she's like, Brooklyn, she's like, yeah, look at him, he beat me on the weed. He sold me like 4 joints. What a rip-off artist. So me, shit night and shining on. And I go up to him, I don't know, long tables, 2 or 3 local. Excuse me, tap him on the shoulder, weed now. Excuse me. She feels like, I'm sure. I'm not dating, I'm just, I'm in love with her. I'm sure you're on this weed. So, give her a couple more tries. The guy's like, no, I didn't. Turns away. Listen, excuse me. She feels you did. You gave her 4 joints, whatever. In those days, you get like 6 joints for a bag, a $5 bag, right? Maybe 7. I said, yeah, kind of short. I'm still not sure to this day if he's short. I didn't count them.
You were just being a white knight.
I was just being a white knight. So he goes, no, I didn't. Get the fuck out. Just basically like, he has to show his pride too. He's letting this guy tap him on the shoulder a couple of times. He's with his friends. I'm with my little friends, and I go, and he goes, get the fuck out of here. Like, just, now I'm starting to annoy him, and he's like, who's this guy? He had to do that. So I was like, bah! Jump on him, start punching him. In the middle of a giant event, jumping, punching him. Everybody, a ruckus erupts, it's like a whole place. So our table's going crazy. Screams, fights, and the grandmother, my friend wrote a song about it, by the way, the next day. And because the grandmother kicked me in the ear. My whole ear was caked with blood. Because I'm ruining her granddaughter's...
The grandmother kicked you in the ear?
Yeah, the grandmother.
While you were scrambling on the ground?
While I'm on the ground.
Oh, my God.
My ear was caked with blood because I'm ruining her granddaughter's 16. I don't blame her, And they're breaking up. But meanwhile... so anyway, long story short, I'm tripping. So this is like the 3rd time I've tripped, maybe the 2nd. I on acid. I had done mescaline and everything else. So I'm tripping. So finally they drag me out. I'm picked up like bodily. But it's a mafia place. Remember? Downstairs in the basement, these 2 guys, a couple of young mob guys. I could tell they were like young, thin, guys. They didn't look like to me like and start punching me. And then they just looked at me, and I could tell they were just like, look at this guy is so pathetically pussy whipped. They could just tell in my eyes. They're like, get him out of here. And just tossed me onto Emmons Avenue, which is a big street in Sheepshead Bay. And then my friends drove by, like, I'm walking, stumbling along. Like 3 minutes later, my friends drove by, because they left too. They had to leave. And they just could not stop laughing. I'm just standing there. But here's the weird part about the story, is that on stage was this old man who at that moment was doing stand-up comedy. And to this day, anytime I have like hecklers, I'm like, that's karma, because I was the guy that ruined his show. And he's going, come on, fellas, calm down. I heard him say that. And at the time, I noticed, because I was like, why is there this guy's so old doing stand-up? But he's probably a guy, doing it at that time. And she said some knockaround joint.
Getting paid. And then an idiot ruins his whole show with a brawl. Over a $5 bag of weed.
Over a bag of weed, which may or may not have been shorted.
And when you think about that, like, have you ever done gigs like that? Did you ever have to do like a kid's party or anything like that?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, all those.
Did you?
You mean gigs where you just don't? I mean, sure. Have you ever?
I did bachelor parties. I did a couple of those.
But bachelor parties, they suck.
Yeah.
But at least it's not like you ever do a gig where you don't, when you're first starting out, where you don't have enough clean material, and you walk in and you go, I have to cut every curse out, and you have nothing left. You realize I have nothing to say to these people.
Oh, yeah.
Because my act is for nightclubs, and this is not a nightclub, it's a daytime club.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of those, like just small events where just you feel like it exposes every flaw in your comedy.
It does. It does. So do small shows.
It does.
Small show. That's the beauty of small shows. They're like a cleansing agent.
Yes.
All the fat in your act.
All the fat, all the cheat, all the momentum is just
Yeah.
based on them.
All the horse
all
shit.
the curses.
Yeah.
It's just all right there, and these people are looking there, and they dress nice. And I did a car show when I think 2 years in. It was like an afternoon show, like $200, which in those days you're like, ooh, $200, an afternoon show. And I went there, and it was just maybe 50, and I was too new to know that I was walking. I didn't even realize. Like now, if you walked into, you'd be like, okay, this is a nightmare. Here's what I got to do.
That was like a really smart thing that Chris Rock used to do a lot, is he would show up at the store unannounced late. So he would go there where the audience was down to like 15, 20 people, and then he would go up with the shit that he was working on, and he would find out what's good and what was bad.
Yeah.
Because when there's 15 people and they're spread out, there's like 3 here, 2 in front of
Yes.
you, 5 over there.
Yes.
You really know what the fuck is good and what's not. If you're there in front of 300 people, they're like, oh my God, it's Chris Rock. Everything he says is amazing.
Yep.
You're with your date, you're like, wow, we got lucky tonight. Chris Rock's here.
Yep.
But if you're there and there's fucking 15 people, it's 1 a.m, like, then you find out how much of your material is nonsense.
Oh my God, yeah. No, of course. I mean, that's where you really get exposed, and it's the best, and you have your best sets.
Yeah.
But the negative side of it is then you listen to the tape, and you're like, a lot of that was free association. You listen to the tape, and that wasn't that great.
Well, that's the thing about comedy. Like, I feel like comedy, to really develop a good set, it's almost like cross training. Like, you need to lift a little weights, but you also need to do some jogging. Like, you need to do a bunch of different
That's right.
things, and you need to have a big crowd, so you see if this is a set that's really worth filming. And then sometimes you have to have a little crowd where they're not impressed by you. They're not there to see you.
Absolutely.
And you see if if this stuff really can resonate with people that don't even know you.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty. The reason we're all still so obsessed with comedy is because of these little, that it can still surprise you every time and still challenge you every time.
Yeah.
There's a million things where you're like, I can't believe I know so much and I know so little after all these years of doing it. You know?
Well, the beautiful thing, too, is every time you do a special, you become a beginner again.
Yeah.
Because even though you know how to craft the material you have is dog shit.
Yeah.
And that it's like it's on Bambi legs. And you gotta
Yes.
figure out a way to get it moving again.
And that's why my new theory, which you're going to like this for the Austin Comedy Club, is that down south now, because nobody can work out up north once it gets to be winter. So it's going to be like baseball, how all the Dominicans became all the south is where all the great comedians
warm here.
year round.
Because the COVID's going to hit in New York City and shut everything down again.
Yeah.
Once flu season kicks in.
Yeah, it's already shut. It's never open. Comedy clubs haven't opened.
But they're open outside, right? A few of them?
Outside, yeah, but you know.
How are they doing that? They're on the street? Like, what are they doing? They're
Yeah,
parking
on the
lots or something?
On the street, well, most of the one comedy club is on the street, but most of them are in like parks or in like parking lots. There's a lot of
So
parking lots.
weird.
Yeah,
So how do you get people to pay to sit in a park?
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Because otherwise, people could just walk up and
that's the
stand on the
problem,
outside and listen. They don't have to pay.
Yeah, in the parking lot, you always just. The problem with doing a parking lot is, you know, you could be doing great. You know, there's some idiot outside the parking lot that could start screaming.
Yeah.
Like when I was 16, I would have done. You know, like
Sure. Honk your
idiots.
horn.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my God.
Or
yeah.
just play Andrew Dice Clay really loud in your car. Just something to distract the
giving them like
comedian.
good idea.
Yeah.
I did a gazebo a couple of weeks ago, a benefit up in Connecticut, and
Like a
yeah.
wedding gazebo?
Yeah,
how
like an
Chappelle's doing it
outdoor-
in New York? Or in...
Is that a gazebo?
Yeah, he's doing it in Ohio. It's like a wedding chapel, outside wedding chapel. That's where he's doing his shows.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's in the town square. I was just doing a benefit, and a couple of kids drove by when the guy before me was on. Just talented, screamed. Ruin your joke.
Do you know Bert Kreischer?
Sure.
Yeah, Bert's doing a lot of these drive-in shows.
I know he is, of course.
Yeah. I go, what was the show like? He goes, it was great. It was 700 cars. Like 700 cars.
Now,
That's a lot of cars.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just did it for HBO Max. I did like a comedy outdoor special with a bunch of comedians from New York, and 30 cars, and it went back far. How did he get 7?
He's doing giant places.
This was 30 cars,
Yeah.
and it was way back.
Yeah.
This must be like, I mean, I can't imagine how far back it must go.
It goes far, and they all light their lights and honk their horns and shit.
That's right. That's what they were doing.
Yeah. It's
Oh
like,
my God, 700. That,
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, but Bert's hammered too, right? So he's like
Right.
barely aware of what's happening when the lights are flashing and people are honking. He's having a great time. Yeah, there you got video of it. Like, this is, by the way, I'm 99% sure, so I'm just going to say this. This is all his idea. Look how big this is. It's huge.
Wow.
There he's in Philly, and he did it all across the country. Takes his shirt off every show because it's important.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
now he has to.
Yeah, now he has
He's
to.
like Ellen
He's
dancing.
trapped. Right.
She has to dance every show.
He's trapped. So this is how he did it. So he would go out and do these crazy shows where he's in the parking lot. They'd set up a stage with lights and everything.
Look at that.
He's been touring.
Look at that.
He's one of the only guys that through this pandemic has been regularly touring in a pretty safe way. Look at all those fucking cars.
Yes.
That's crazy. Pretty safe way.
That's kind of cool. It's actually really cool looking.
He said he enjoyed it. He said it was great. He enjoyed it. But, you know.
But Bert's the kind of guy that enjoys things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I could see myself getting aggravated by this, and Bert's like, it's the greatest. You know, he'll be.
This is so
He'll
right.
jump in their car, start making out with them. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
Bert enjoys stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I just, I miss real comedy. Like, Mark Norman said it best. He's like, this is all methadone. He goes, we're all doing methadone. He goes, I want a real shot. He goes, I want the real hit right in the veins. He goes, I don't want to take this methadone. These park shows and these outdoor shows and the virtual shows are the worst. Like, that's
my God, yeah.
That's crazy. I've watched good comics bomb on Zoom, and I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. There's no one there. You can't do that.
No, it sounds like pigeons. Like, you don't hear laughter. You just hear this weird. Like, is that a laugh? What's going on?
It's just not a bad. It's a terrible way to do comedy.
No, yeah, it's. But that's again what I love about it is that it makes us really like you realize a lot of people are going to fall by the wayside too.
Yeah,
because
Thank
the
God.
money's going to go down.
Thank God.
Yeah. The money's going to go down. This I'm prepping people for low salaries at Austin Comedy Club. The money's going to go down.
You're going to design Austin Comedy Club for me, right?
I would love it. Well, I'd like to
Design
really.
the room.
I'd like to curate the audience.
How are you going to do that?
Already we had a conflict when I was telling you I don't want those drunks at the audience. You're like, yeah, let them have a few drinks. I'm like, no, Joe.
You want to test them all to make sure they're not drunk.
Yeah, because I don't like. You're like, well, some drugs don't heckle. I know, but then they sit there like this, and you think they're listening to you, and their eyes are open. One time I was in Cleveland, and I was yelling at the whole crowd because they were drunk and just horrible. And there was this beautiful couple up front, guy and girl, blonde, dressed expensive. Like, I mean, they just looked like model movie stars. And I was like, these people like this come to see a show. I just yell at the crowd because they were like hecklers, it's a late show, you know. And then I finished. Then like 5 minutes later, the couple got up to go to the bathroom and leave it, and they both face planted and passed out. They were so happy. They didn't even know I was talking. They didn't know where they were.
We finally have a rapid test. So here, like, we got tested. We got the same test that the White House uses. So we have a machine, do a nose swab, and get a result in 15 minutes. So you could conceivably have a show where people would show up, say, 40 minutes early. Everybody gets in line, gets tested. When you get cleaned, you can get inside and have a drink. So you could do a comedy club and have everybody with no mask on. You could conceive.
Yes.
The thing is, people like, even if people get tested, wear a mask. Like, everyone's so mask conscious now.
right.
Like, when we do the UFC, I can't do in-person interviews with the fighters.
Right.
But I'm tested and they're tested. Everybody's tested. You
Right.
have to be tested to even be in the building. You have to be clean the day of to be in the building, but yet still they want everybody to wear a mask. I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, but it's also because when you live in a country that's built on lawsuits, everybody's like, whoa, that sounds like a law. There's 80 people going, don't wear a mask. I want to see what happens. Just so they can try to sue you.
That's, well, you'd have to sign a waiver.
Well-
like, if you're going to get to Austin Comedy Club, you'd have to sign a waiver.
Well, Austin Comedy Club, I hate to say this, it sounds like I'm already abusing the system, but I think the MC should have to do the testing. They should have to be registered.
A nurse. You have to be a nurse to be an MC. You want to host, you got to be a nurse. You got to get there early. Do that,
So it's a few bucks.
Yeah, like, host would have to, like, pitch chicken wings at some place. Try the wings. In this place,
Well, I used to bartend when I started comedy. I would bartend at the comic strip, but they wouldn't let me on because they were like, no, it's a conflict of interest. It was a big ethical problem.
Really? You had to quit your job as a bartender to be...
I quit before I could audition.
Oh, that's ridiculous. The store, it's the opposite. The store, all the people that work there are comics. Everyone, the doorman.
It's always been...
But they actually, like Ari, when I met him, he was a doorman.
He was?
Yeah, it became, and then there was the beautiful thing was he eventually filmed his first special at the store, his Comedy Central special. So it was like, wow, what a full circle he made.
Yeah. He seems more like a comedian than a doorman, if I may say.
He's a terrible doorman. He was I don't give a fuck where you sit. Sit wherever. This place is gritty. This place is crazy. Yeah, but everybody, Tony Hinchcliffe, everybody that works there, everybody that works there as a doorman is a comic. Everybody that works the cover booth is a comic. A lot of the people that work behind the bar are comics.
Well, you guys' crew really turned that place around. Because I was there in the early 90s. And the Comedy Store, I was there working, occasionally. I didn't even work that much when I lived in LA, but...
It was a shithole.
Well, not only was it a shithole, Monday was considered gang night. And it wasn't like... it wasn't an inside joke. Like, everybody knew gang night. The gangs knew it was gang night. So they would have gangs. It was just this crazy atmosphere, like this tense atmosphere. Every Monday night was gang night.
Yeah, it was not good when I got there in 94.
Yeah.
I got there in 94.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough. But occasionally it was good. Like, occasionally, like, Damon Wayans would stop by.
Right.
Or Martin Lawrence would stop by. Like, someone good would be there, and you'd go, wow, okay. Now I get to see a real comic. But a lot of it was, like, half empty, not even.
Yeah, they had some tough years.
A lot of Bodaks.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, a lot of guys that really just shouldn't have been there. And my theory was that, like, Kinnison had left there somewhere around 86.
Right.
And when I got there in 94, 8 years later, it was just still, like, because before that it was booming, right? There was Kinnison, Letterman, and all these guys were there. And then when he left and he was banned from the store, I think he took everybody with him. And I think when I got there in 94, it was like he was already dead. And it was like the echoes of that his generation had already kind of died off.
Yeah, well, when I was in LA in 89, I guess, or 90 or something, 88, 89. And the Improv was the respectable club. It was what the store became. And the store was already crazy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it was like that in 94.
Yeah.
The agents wouldn't go there because they couldn't get in for free.
Right.
Because Mitzi was like, I don't give a fuck where you work.
Yeah.
Like, if you were an agent and you wanted to get a table, it's like, pay. Tell them to pay.
You know what, though? I don't blame her because the whole town was an agent. She wouldn't have made a dime.
Yeah, and not only that, they didn't pay attention. She would say they would talk in the back. And they did. I remember I went to see a showcase once, and for whatever reason, William Morris had a showcase at a nightclub. And there was the downstairs where they had people seated, and the upstairs was like this little balcony where it was a bar, and it was filled with agents, and they were talking full blast while the show was going up. And I said, I'm not going up. I told my agent, I'm not going up. There's no fucking way. And DePaulo was on stage. And DePaulo's on stage, and he's yelling at these fucking people that are up in the balcony, like he's talking shit about them.
Right.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was the worst atmosphere for comedy, and the agents didn't give a fuck. It was agents' assistants, a lot of them. They were drinking and talking.
Yeah, they were just laughing. Yeah,
they're having a social time. They're having free drinks. You know, it's like this is their opportunity to chit chat. So while the show was going on, I mean, full blown bar level talking.
Yeah,
it's terrible. So that was what Mitzi tried to avoid. She was like, "Get him out of here."
No, she definitely had the right spirit. So I didn't even know Kinnison was. I remember Kinnison was there one night. Rich Jenny told me, rest in peace.
Loved that guy.
Great guy.
God, he was good.
But he knew Kinnison. I mean, Kinnison owed him $100. So he went by the Comedy Store to get paid. He was in town. He's like, the guy's doing great now. He's making a lot of money. It's like 1988, 89. And he goes, I'm going to get paid. I'm going to go bar him. And he goes to the MC. And Kinnison gets over. I'm getting $100. He owes me $100. He never paid me. He's rich. I'm just, working the road. And then just then, Sam starts screaming his I said, I can't. That bit he used to do where he goes, I'm going to take this napkin. I want you to write down the names of all your loved ones. Your dead grandmother that always treated you. He'd go through the whole, he'd say to somebody in the audience, he'd go, write down your dead grandmother was always there for you. Write down your uncle that paid your way through, and I want you to write them all down. And then I want you to hand it back to me because I'm going to wipe my ass with it. And he said that. He said the guy just exploded. attacked him. Sam's bodyguards just started punching, it turned into like a brawl at the Comedy Store. The guy was so mad, and then the MC goes to Jenny, maybe she should ask him for 50.
Yeah, he was. I missed all that. I missed the Kinnison. I saw him live a few times when I was an open micer. When I was in Boston, I went to see him 3 times while he was alive. One time was at Great Woods, and one time was down the Cape, and then there was one other time. And it was interesting to see because it was like he didn't have new material. And he was trying to do some of the bits from the old stuff, and people would call out the punchlines. And so then he had to kind of write new shit while he was touring, and the HBO special had just come out because it was kind of a new thing back then. Like there weren't a lot of HBO specials. It wasn't a real common thing.
No.
And he developed that act over years and years and years.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, he's this hugely famous comedian. They come to see him. He doesn't really have a lot of new material.
Yeah. No, that definitely happened to a lot of guys back then, where they'd just be like, they weren't used to people knowing their act.
Yeah.
And people are like, I don't hear. That's the thing about comedy. Musicians, people are calling out for their best hits.
Yeah.
If you do something new, they get mad.
Yeah.
Comedians, just the opposite.
I know. It's crazy.
It's such a hassle, but, it's the way it is. And especially Sam's act, because it was all build up.
Yeah.
And the big punchline. So there was no in between.
Yeah, so I got to see like his B-level material. I never got to see the A material live. I got to see it on TV, but when I saw him live, it was all kind of like half-assed stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that good.
But it was also because his crowd was so annoyingly like screaming at him that he ended up having he almost couldn't develop.
Yeah.
Because like you said, he should have been what Chris did. Go in when there's 15 people.
Yep.
He should have done that.
Well, he was just touring, right? He wasn't...
Yeah.
Like, he developed his comedy by going up late at the store.
Right.
That was the thing. Like, going up late, he put that act together over years of struggle. And then all of a sudden he was huge, and now he's got to do these thousands of seats. And it's not the same. You can't develop an act. It's just, you can, but it's, god damn, it's hard to develop an act in front of thousands and thousands of people.
And how about, I don't know how you could do it. I mean, how about the fact that him and Pryor are both from Peoria?
Crazy.
Isn't that wild?
Weird.
But he started in Houston. They said Sam in Houston, him and Bill Hicks, all of them looked at that. And they said Sam one time he tied himself to the thing outside.
Yeah, the annex, because they censored him. They wouldn't let him go up. Yeah, those guys, they had developed a real scene down here in Texas.
They really did.
And Hicks had a real scene in Austin. Hicks started out here, and then eventually went to Houston. Yeah. Or maybe he started in Houston and went to here eventually. That's right. I think he started in Houston, did Houston and Austin, and then when he came to die, he died out here.
Wow. Yeah, I used to call them the Houston comics that hate God.
Well, it was odd because Texas is often thought of as being very
That's
religious.
why they're so obsessed with it.
Yeah. A lot of, I think Garofalo came out here. I think she came out here during that time too,
That's
right?
Yeah. Well, they had a bunch of...
Because it was like a scene. Like, I remember hearing that she was coming out here because I knew her from Boston. I was like, wow, that's kind of wild. Like, Texas is that... Like, it made me rethink what Texas is in my head.
Yeah. And Brett Butler was here.
This was during the 80s. This was during the Kinnison era.
And that was when they had Ron Schock. Do you remember him?
Yeah, yeah.
And do you remember Andy Hinton?
Jimmy Pineapple?
Yeah.
I worked with Jimmy Pineapple.
Yes.
One of the first times I ever did the Houston Laugh Stop, I worked with Jimmy Pineapple.
That's crazy.
Yeah, those guys,
Speaking
the
of
outlaws of comedy.
Andy Hinton used to have a joke, which, he goes, so, these girls having sex younger and younger these days. I overheard my sister's friends talking about it. They're 14 and she's having sex. I pulled her aside. I said, first of all, what we did was wrong. Second of all, telling people about it's not going to make it better.
Fuck. Today you'd get canceled for that.
Oh my
joke.
God, yeah.
You'd be in real trouble.
You'd be in real trouble.
All female comics would start Twitter threads about you.
Yes.
Expose him.
But Andy Hinton, him and Ron Schock once did acid at T-Sean Shannon. You know him. He's from there too. And he told me the story about Ron Schock and Andy Hinton were tripping one time. And, Ron Schock was, he just was like kind of bragging. And he goes, and then Andy Hinton goes, Ron, you're going to make it. When they first started, he goes, I know. And he goes, he was waiting for him to say it back to him, because two comedians are new. So you say it back to each other, right?
Sure.
And he goes, and then finally Andy couldn't take it anymore. He goes, I'm going to make it too, Ron. He goes, sure you are, Andy. Sure you are.
They had a great open mic night back at that Laugh Stop. That was one thing about the Laugh. Did you work that place in Houston?
Yeah, the Laugh Stop, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great club. But they had the bar area was an open mic night, and then they had the main showroom area. And I remember I came in to do the show there. I did 2 shows, and from the moment I got on stage, they had the open mic going. And then by the time I was off stage, the open mic was still going. So the open mic would go to like 2 o'clock in the morning. They had guys still going up. Like, it was a real comedy community there. They really worked on their craft. They didn't tolerate any hacks. No bullshit there.
They were a serious thing.
It was a great place.
It was a great, great scene.
That crazy Mark Babbitt ran it. That crazy fuck.
Yes.
Yeah. He was a nut, but he really loved comedy.
He loved comedy and ran it crazy.
You gotta have a nut. You like people think, well, that guy wasn't the best businessman. Like, you're not gonna get the best businessman to run a goddamn comedy club. You're gonna get nutty people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, Mitzi Shore was a different kind of nutty person. Yes. Mark Babbitt was a different kind of nutty person. But all the great club owners were all crazy.
Well, the reason Boston was a good scene, too, was a great scene when I started. I came in like 85, let's say, to Boston, right? First time ever, was because Lenny Clark and Mike Clark, the money they paid in Boston was like 3 or 4 times more than any other place. 3 or 4 times. Like, a gig in New York paid $80 to be the middle. In Boston, it would pay $290 or something. Because Lenny and Mike was not ripping people off like that.
Yeah, Mike's I'm still good friends with him to this day. I was texting with him yesterday.
Perfect.
I love that guy.
And whatever his thing was, he was just this guy that was like, yeah, you should get paid. And it was like this Valhalla, this. Yep. And what was regulated, it was also the big 4. You know what I mean? It was like the Mount Rushmore of Boston. Sweeney, Gavin, Lenny, and Rogerson.
Yep.
And they were just... they just set a tone where everybody's like, whoa, you just...
And they were big guys, too.
They were big guys.
Like, Lenny Clark's a fucking gorilla of a man.
Yes.
They were these big dudes.
Oh, yeah.
It was an interesting play because they were men. Like, we thought of comedy as being like these dweeby, like, interest, but those guys were doing coke and punching people.
Oh, my God.
They were wild fucks. All those guys were hammered all the time. They were all a bunch of wild people.
Oh, my God. They were insane. They brought me up to meet Sweeney one afternoon at Nick's, and he was just in the back like this. Like, you want to meet Sweeney? It was in the afternoon. It was just him in the dark, and just looking like it was this, audience with the Pope.
Were you there during the coke days, where they would try to pay you in coke?
Yes. Well, not me. I was already clean, but yeah, they paid people in coke all the time. It was crazy. It was psychotic out there.
It's the only way you get great comedy. I think it's like it doesn't last because it's not sustainable. That kind of a business model. No. And then the comics never pay their taxes. They all wind up getting audited.
And you stop writing because you're coked up, or you're just waiting for the coke deal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when they had the guy on the side. I mean, they're dealing coke in uniform, and it was nuts.
Yeah.
Well, that was a famous. I'm sure you heard that story when I went up there, and they pulled the old thing where Sweeney and Chance went on before me and just
destroyed
the
place.
Destroyed on a Friday second show, and then I end up literally because I remember I'm from New York, so I don't understand. It's 1985 or 86, so I don't understand the culture. So I see a bunch of guys in polo shirts with blonde hair, deck shoes, white pants. I'm like, oh, these must be some spoiled Kennedy guys. Like, they look like yuppies. Like, they look like rich
bank robbers from Chelsea.
Yes. Yes. But I'm looking at this audience full of these guys in pink eyes-out shirts. And that's exact. And they're these badasses.
They're savages.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm like, so I go cursing them because I'm bombing. So, we get into it. They're like, fuck you. I'm like, oh, fuck you. And I go, God, go fuck yourself. I'm just giving them the finger. I say, you fucking asshole. Go back to, Hyannisport and go play touch football, you little put. And these guys, and I start to notice. Then finally I start to notice, wait a minute. Some of these guys have tattoos back in the days when, I'm like, these guys have like Sherlock tattoos. I may be misreading it because I didn't know anything about Boston as far as the neighborhoods. I don't know what's going on there. I just saw pink eyes on shirts and
facial scars. You start seeing
like,
things, crooked
Jesus,
noses.
Some of these guys are pretty muscular too. And then, long story short, it got so ugly that Joe Yannetti had to come on stage from the back of the room. They go, Joe, go up there, save it. Because they're getting ready to rush the stage and beat the shit out of me. The whole crowd, but almost, it felt like. And Joe Yannetti goes on stage and he goes, folks, I'm from Eastie. This is my friend. We're going off stage now. You leave us alone. We're going. And he had to explain to him, I'm from Eastie. He's from one of the neighborhoods. So, I'm a legitimate person. And then we just had to hide in the kitchen until the whole crowd emptied out.
Well, if you were a New York guy, you already had 3 strikes against you go up on the stage.
Yes, I knew none of that. By the way.
They set you up too. They would. I saw them set up Billy Crystal.
Well,
I walked in after the fact. I didn't actually see it, but I walked in after the fact. They were all bragging about it. They set up Billy Crystal with like Sweeney, Knox, Gavin, boom, boom, boom. They just had a murderous assault of local humor that you couldn't follow. You couldn't. They're talking about fucking Cape Cod, going down the Cape, having con. They're talking in the Boston accent. Everybody's dying, and then you would go up and like, I'm Billy Crystal. Hey. How's everything? Do you like the Emmys? And they're like, get the fuck out of here. They did it to everybody.
Well, guess what? It's funny you say that because of the local references. The last thing I remembered before I went on stage, I mean, they're ripping, is Chance, Sweeney. Sweeney's got a mop in his head like dreadlocks. Chance is playing guitar, and they're singing a song called Come Back to Jamaica Plain.
That's where I lived. I lived in Jamaica Plain. Yeah. It was all local stuff. That was a real problem when I started doing the road. I had so much local material because they loved local material. It was like a cheat code. Like you can get a laugh you didn't deserve with local material.
Well, the same in New York. You do that subway stuff. You're in North Carolina. It just people would be like, "What is this? What are you talking about? The subway? We don't do this. We know what it is." But it's funny you said the after. I was there for the aftermath because I pictured the room when an aftermath when. Sometimes you go into one of those clubs in New York too, but in Boston, Nick's, and there was just broken shot glasses thrown around the room, just chairs turned over, and you're like, whoa, what happened here?
But it was just a crazy business model that they would set up these headliners for failure on purpose all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know, like if you were a guy from New York that was doing the Tonight Show and you're starting to do movies and you thought you were the shit.
Yeah.
And they would let you go on stage and they would like, oh yeah, we're going to have this guy headline. He's been on the Tonight Show. And they would set you up with 4 murderers would go on in front of you.
I don't blame them. That's how when you're making that much money locally, you don't want a bunch of people come horning in on you making you're then. But by the way, I wasn't a headliner. I was just up there visiting. I was staying at Tony V and Dennis Leary's house. I wasn't a headliner. But they just did it for whatever, for sport, to keep in shape.
No other place would do that. If you went to Houston, they would give you like a local act would be an opener. It would be normal. I mean, you'd have good comics, but they wouldn't have headliner after headline after headline trying to blow you off the stage.
Right.
They did it on purpose.
Yeah, they did. Oh, yeah, I know they did.
They wanted you to eat shit. These guys would do their best 20 minutes. Just fucking ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. And you would go on stage an hour and 15, an hour and 20 minutes into a show where the audience was beaten into a pulp.
Yes.
And then these guys would bomb.
It happened to me. That's exactly what happened. And I wasn't even the headliner. And here's what happened, by the way. I just remembered it. I was the middle. But Chance goes, I'd like to get home early, Colin. Would you mind if I went ahead of you?
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, okay.
Dirty trick.
Because first show had been fine.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, fine, go ahead. I didn't know him. I didn't know anybody. Oh, it was really funny.
Dirty trick. They do that on purpose.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But do you really blame? Look, here's the way it is. You're in the city. You're making great money. You're getting paid in coke. Everything's set up correctly. Plus, you're Irish. So you're like, these assholes think they're going to come in here and big shot their way around. It's the perfect Irish arrest to just go, we're going to show you what a fucking big shot you are. The pleasure they got in their souls out of watching that week after week. Of course, they did it constantly.
The only person I saw survive that gauntlet was Dom Irrera. Dom Irrera,
I can see it.
He murdered. He went up there and he was famous enough at the time that a lot of the audience was there to see him.
Yep.
And he was working so much. He was cool as a cucumber. He would go on, and his material was so goddamn good.
So funny.
So solid.
Yep.
He went up there and he killed. And I remember at the end of it, he goes, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dom Irrera. I've been great. You guys were okay. You weren't a bad audience. Like, he just had this casual confidence and just he survived the gauntlet. They tried. They tried to take him out.
I could see it.
One after the other, they set people up. I saw some crazy shows. I saw Bill Hicks get set up there.
Oh, wow.
Bill Hicks got set up there, cleared the fucking room, and never stopped swinging. It was me and Greg Fitzsimmons. We were open micers at the time, and we were sitting in the back of the room at Nick's Comedy Stop, and Hicks started out with 300 people, and he was down to maybe 40. Maybe 35, 40 people at the end. And everybody had just gotten up and left. And it was a row of comics in the back laughing our fucking ass off. And just, like, he was looking up. He had some bit about someone taking a shit, right? So he's, like, grunting over a toilet bowl. And he looks up. And he goes, this usually clears the room. And people are just getting up. And just, the crazy thing about it was the calmness of his bombing was stunning.
Always.
I was like, he's so relaxed while bombing.
Yeah. No, I never saw anybody who literally would just be like, he had such a Zen-like attitude about comedy. Because he did it since he was like 15 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And T-Sean speaking, they all knew him when he first began. And they said his whole act was jokes, hilarious jokes. Like he had all this material, but it was all like one-liners that he wrote when he was 16 and 15.
Yeah, there's a video of him when he was really young.
Yeah.
He was real smooth. And the video is him before he was 18. He's fucking smooth.
And then he was like, hey, guess what? I want to do this a different way. And I mean, he was just a searcher, you know.
And also, when I saw him live a few times, he'd already quit doing drugs.
Yeah.
Like he was already clean, and he just had this really strange, introspective, thought-provoking act.
Right.
And people didn't know what to make of it. He really changed comedy in a lot of ways because a lot of people imitated him because they would see him and they would go, you know, comedy can kind of be profound. It doesn't just have to be funny. Like, this guy made me feel like what I was talking about was stupid. That I was dumb,
right? You
know, and then so a lot. Like I remember in the back green room in the Atlanta Punchline,
right?
There was the green room had a graffiti on the wall, and one of the things that said, "Quit trying to be Hicks." Because there's so many guys that were trying to be Hicks.
Yes.
It was so common. Where people would like tell the audience how dumb they were and how dumb America was, and they were trying to be profound without doing all the work first.
That's right. Oh yeah. I mean, how many people masquerade as you know, freaking out the crowd with their brilliance when it's just that you're not that funny.
Yeah, you just.
I mean, first be funny. Like doctors, first do no harm. First be funny. And if you can be profound, that's great. That's another level. But don't be up there going, "Hey, you guys don't get it. I'm ruining your middle class bourgeois mentality." He's like, "No, you're not, stupid." When Lenny Bruce did it, yes, that was shocking and he was groundbreaking. Don't be acting like, you know what I mean, Hicks or Lenny Bruce.
I would have loved to see Hicks with a podcast. God damn, he would have had a great podcast.
Yeah.
He would have had a really interesting podcast.
Yeah, you're right.
He had some... there were some real interesting interviews with him where, you know, he would do an interview and he wouldn't really try to be funny. Like, that was the thing in these interviews. Guys would be like half doing their act and, you know, he did a little bit of that, but for the most part, he would actually talk about shit.
No, yeah, I'm going to do that for the second half of this. Going to my act.
I got some... that's what I was getting to. Trying to work you into that.
But,
you don't have to be funny.
Remember when they used to... They used to do that on radio in the 80s, at least. I started. They go, listen, tell us what you set you up for.
Oh, yeah. Dude, the 80s. I had someone try to do that to me in like 2014. I did the Bomb and Tom show back then. They're like, I was like, what? What are you talking about?
Set you up. What do you want to talk about?
Maybe it was 2005. But it was the 2000s.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
in the 80s, that was the normal thing.
That was the thing.
If you said no, they'd be like, oh, my God, this guy's going to be terrible.
In Bob and Tom's defense, they didn't care, but the producer was adamant that I need to have specific things to talk about, to go into.
Right.
And I was like, what? I'm not just going to go have fun. These guys are fun. I'm fun. Just relax.
Yeah, exactly. So you flew out here. How was your flight? You're like,
well, it was pretty good, but there was a guy next to me. Yeah, the morning radio thing. There was a lot of guys would do their act on morning radio.
Sure.
Because nobody was recording it. Because it was like, you know, there was no internet back then.
And comedy was so new that people would drive and go, hey, this guy's pretty funny. Let's get out there. I mean, it was there for a reason, you know.
Yeah, guys would do routines in the morning. Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah. Like it got people to come out to the club, and then they would hear the same jokes at the club.
Yeah.
That was the other thing, too, is nobody wrote any material back then.
Nobody... I know so many guys that were so funny, and they'd write maybe 40. And that was it. And
That's
they were,
it.
and they were as
Forever.
funny as anybody.
Yeah.
Forever.
Forever.
And then you fade away. But I
Yeah.
mean, and they had fun. And it wasn't that the material was dated. It was just once you stop writing that stuff, something about you becomes dated. So
Yeah. Well, their act would get so polished. It would be like a samurai sword. They would hammer it down to just a perfect sharpness. And they would, like Don Gavin, his fucking timing was so precise.
So funny.
Ba-bing, ba-bang, ba-bang. And you'd be crying. He was so confident and loose.
Yeah.
But they never left. They never
Yeah.
left Boston. They stayed. They had that 40 minutes, and they were as good as any comic that has ever
As
lived.
anybody.
Ever.
Yeah.
And people didn't know.
But in New York, too. There's
Yeah.
a bunch of guys in New York that were just great in the mid-'80s when I started.
Like who?
These guys were so funny. I was afraid you were going to say that. Well, like a guy like John Heyman. Hilarious. He became a writer. But I'm saying he would get up and just so funny. And he was the guy that would just sit at the bar, all the comedians, just clever, witty guy. You know what I mean? He could have been one of the greats. And everybody knew it.
New York had a different thing in that the clubs were smaller because space was more limited, so
Yes.
people were on top of you. So you had a lot of guys working the crowd because they were so
Right.
close to you, you almost felt like you had to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, most of the clubs in New York, there was a lot of crowd work. going
Yeah.
on, which was good and bad. It was good in the sense that, it's funny to watch somebody be, you know what I mean? It keeps it, but it's bad in the sense that a lot of people just became great at crowd work. I mean,
Yeah.
how many guys that are just great at crowd work? 'Cause
Yeah.
crowd work's fun. And it's
is.
funny, but you got to discipline yourself. If you're not writing, when you're going to do a show and the stage is up there and you're talking to imaginary people, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, that guy. And then after the show, when you start, and you're like, hey, that guy wasn't fat. Hey, she was, her tits weren't out. Why is he saying she was dressed like a hook?
This
Yeah.
guy's it's just fake crowd work. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that do that. Well, the crowd work is it's like local material. It's a cheat code. Like,
Right.
When people think that you're coming up with it on the spot, they think this guy's brilliant.
Yeah.
How can
Well,
you
the part I object to is when somebody does something every night spontaneous, and then they pretend they stumble into it and then start laughing at themselves.
Oh, that's ugly. The fake laugh at yourself.
the middle of
Sometimes you will laugh at yourself.
Yes, it happens.
But the audience knows when it's not real.
Yeah.
They know. Unless they're retarded.
Oh.
Some people don't know, but most people know.
Yeah.
And they might let you get away with it. But when you're laughing at saying the same joke for the 50,000th time,
Yeah. No, it's great. It really is a great thing about modern comedy is that everybody knows you got to keep putting out new albums.
that's the great thing about modern comedy. Yeah, with specials.
Yes.
Well, you've done an interesting thing where you've done these theme shows.
Yeah.
Now, what led you to want to start doing that? Which is just you had ideas that you wanted to do that way, like a one-man show?
Yeah, I did. I remember seeing one-man shows when I first started. I saw Eric Bogosian. Do you know him?
Yes, I remember him.
He did these one-man shows, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's the coolest guy.
Yeah.
He's being funny, doing these characters. So I wanted to do like that kind of stuff. So I did this stuff in the early 90s, just one-man shows on my free time, and then I watched Lily Tomlin did one. Whoopi Goldberg did a really good one back then. And I'm watching these one-person shows, and I was like, I want to do that. And then I did this one called Irish Wake about growing up back then. But then I just went back to stand-up, because stand-up is, you know how it is. It keeps you from being out of the loop mentally in some way. That you can't, because it's just, I just talk to Jerry about it all the time, and it's like going into the water and just getting hit by a wave. Because all the theoretical stuff, like even now, here we are talking, stand up, this and that, it's all theory. Once you're on stage with the crowd, you're like, you're surviving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm going to do this, all my strategies, now you got to, it's a fight.
When you watch a guy like Jerry, who's been doing it forever, who's such a polished pro, and is having a tough spot, it's weird. It's weird to see. Be like, we're all still just comics.
We're all still comics. But that's the beauty of it, is that the crowd is just like a wave.
They'll give you a couple minutes. Oh, look, Colin Quinn's here.
Yeah.
Hey, he's funny. They'll give you a couple minutes. And after a while, like, come on.
Yeah, they're like the three guys I never heard of were making us laugh, and the guy I know is not. What's going on here? I paid money to laugh.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Because whatever you want to say, like we're talking about with Bill, whatever you want to say, that's great.
Yeah.
But you still have to make them laugh, or it's not definite. By definition, it's not comedy.
Right.
You may be a philosopher. You may be the most brilliant, or TED Talk, as they say today. But it's not comedy.
That's the importance also of showcase clubs, where there's a bunch of comics going up, and they're not just there to see you. Because if people are just there to see you, they'll laugh at things. If they're just a giant fan of whoever it is, Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah.
They go to see Jim Gaffigan,
Right.
and Jim Gaffigan's a very funny guy.
Oh, yeah.
But they will laugh. They will laugh at him. But Jim Gaffigan will go to these other clubs to work out too, because you have to do that as well. You got to go to a place where they don't necessarily come to see you. They come to see a show, and you're on the show, but you got to perform.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly.
There's no other art form like that.
No.
Musicians don't have to do that.
No. There's no other art form where you need the audience to help you write, edit.
Yeah.
You literally need them. That's why this coronavirus is so brutal for comedians. Because without the audience, you're going to ramble on and on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You'll go to long setups with little punchlines, and you won't even know. The audience be like, no, get to the joke. Like, and you're like, oh, I forgot to end this thing. How can I do this for this many years? I forget. You need an ending.
Did you see Cosby at all before he wound up going to jail? Did you ever see him live?
No.
I never saw him live. I mean, I saw him live once when I worked at Great White. I was actually working as a security guard when he was there live. But I didn't get to see... I wasn't a comic back then. I was 19. I didn't get to see the whole show. I really paid attention to it. But he never worked out. He talked about it. He said, I know what's funny. I know how to do funny. Like, I don't need to work out my material. So he would just kind of write. And then he would go up and do these. And from all accounts, like Chris Rock said it and Burr said it, they went to see him. They said it was fucking brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And he didn't work out. Like, I would like to see what that was like.
I would like to see it too. Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock, they always said they went to see Bill Cosby and loved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder about that.
It's a little hero worship too, right? Like, how much of it is you're supposed to love it? How much of it you love it because it's great?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if they hero worshipped him. You know?
Before he got arrested, everybody hero worshipped him.
I didn't.
You didn't?
I never liked it. I didn't like his act that much. I mean, I thought he was... One time I did a big benefit, a big Carnegie Hall show. It was right after 9/11, and Cosby was on. And it was an interesting night for two of them, but one of them was... He asked to meet me after my set. He was hero worshipping me, Joe, in my opinion. But he brought me up because he wanted to meet me because of my set. So I go up and I brought my girlfriend at the time, very, pretty. And I walked in with her, and she had a certain look that I could, like very exotic looking too, and dressed up. And Cosby was there in sweatpants, smoking a cigar in Carnegie Hall, which only certain people get away with. He's in some dressing room in Carnegie Hall with a cigar, and he's talked to me for 20 minutes. He looked at me for about 8 seconds. He was literally looking, but he made it a joke, but it was dead serious. But he was looking at her while he was talking to me the whole time. And we're all like laughing like he's in on the joke. But it was so, like, she thought it was so weird. But the same night, Tom Papa was there with his wife, Cynthia. And Bill Clinton was there too. It was like a big, right after 9/11. And Clinton was shocked. He walked around the room. He was so smart, everything they say about him. But then he starts talking to Tom Papa. He starts flirting with Cynthia right in front of everybody, and we're all laughing. But he's like, hey, I love her. It was one of those nights.
Fascinating. In retrospect, right?
It was a Me Too benefit in retrospect.
I remember I called Bill Cosby a douchebag on your show when I was on Tough Crowd. Because he was...
you were ahead of the time.
He was being interviewed by Wanda Sykes.
Right.
And Wanda was interviewing him, and he starts chastising her for the way she's talking to him.
That's right.
And he had sunglasses on. I go, that guy's a fucking douchebag.
That's great.
And I remember thinking, like, geez, who the fuck am I to call Bill Cosby a douchebag? I mean, this is like...
Yes.
I mean, when was Tough Crowd? What year am I talking about?
2003, 2004.
Yeah. I was like, he's a fucking douchebag.
That's hilarious. I remember that when he was like, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, she was just having fun
and
talking to him. She was just trying to be funny, and he chastised her for the way she was speaking.
It was
It
crazy.
was like, it was real weird. Like, who the fuck are you to tell her how to talk?
Especially on TV at
And
that
especially
time.
everybody loves Wanda.
Yeah,
Like,
just walking around the crowd and does
yeah.
that.
And she's just working. She's a comic.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
wasn't. It was nothing she did was offensive. It was
Right.
just her talking.
Yeah.
And I remember being on the show, and then I remember leaving. Going, she's Bill Cosby, a douchebag. Like, probably shouldn't do that.
I feel like a lot of people left the show saying something like that about
Oh,
something.
that was the show. That show would not be possible today.
No.
I mean, it really was like a podcast in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It really was.
It was,
It was
yeah.
a fucking great show, though.
Thanks.
It was a great show.
Thanks.
It really was. And you were the perfect host for it, too, because you were loose enough and light enough with everything that you can kind of keep the glue together.
Yeah. I mean, I took as much abuse as anybody on that.
Oh, yeah. But it was a rare moment where, like, in Perfect Name, too. Tough Crowd is a perfect name for
Yeah.
it. Has there ever been a talk about bringing that back?
Oh, God, yeah. Everybody talks about it. But I'm like, where? You know what I mean?
What about as a podcast?
People say that. I
Why
don't know.
not?
I mean, because first of all, I resented at the time that I was like, nah, they didn't want it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
who knows what I'm resenting? I'm fighting against something that it's not even part of the podcast world.
Right.
And but then I was just like, I don't know. Then I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Getting everybody together, and people's careers would fall left and right if we did it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, anybody on there, would they be able to really even speak honestly today?
Kinda. You
Kind
kinda
of.
you gotta have a career that's pretty locked in already, or you gotta be on the come up where you got nothing to lose. It's
Yeah.
the guys that are on a television show that are fucked.
Yeah,
Like the guys who get a TV show where you're really worried about losing it.
right.
Those guys can't do a show like that. But back
No.
then you could.
Oh, back then we did, but
There it is. Colin Quinn, Tough Crowd. There it is. Look at that.
that is that Patrice O'Neill.
Patrice! Oh, he was the star of that fucking show. Well, Norton was great on that show. DePaulo was great on that show.
Everybody was great in that. Geraldo, there's Geraldo.
Geraldo.
And
I remember when Geraldo and Leary went at it. That was one of the great moments of that show.
10 years till Geraldo's dead 2 days ago. Yeah, him and Larry. That was a good one. And Lenny Clark was there.
It was just a great setup. Like the way you had it, it was just a great setup.
Patrice literally, it was basically his show. As you can see from that footage, I was a guest. He was the host.
Little chubby Jimmy. Look at Jimmy
I
back
know.
in the
He
chubby
really
days.
looks like a fat fool. But
It was a great fucking show, man.
yeah.
How many episodes did you guys wind up doing?
200, I think.
Wow.
220 or something.
I have no. Can we get you to do it as a podcast?
I don't know.
Because you could get guys like me,
Yeah.
guys like established comics would do it, and it would be wild. You could still do it. It could still be
Yeah.
done as a podcast. It could still because like you have a guy like Joey Diaz on. He doesn't give a fuck.
Right,
Like
right.
you can have those guys, and
Yeah.
they will talk freely,
Yeah.
and people would love it. Oh
It
my
would-
god,
it
they would
would-
love it.
Yeah, it might. I don't know. I mean, over the years, obviously, people have brought it up to me. And I was always like, no, because you could never.
Do you own the name?
Be free to. No, but I got a better one. The original name, which everybody talked me off of, which is the expression, really more than Tough Crowd, Tough Room.
Ooh.
And I think I
Tough
do own
Room.
the name.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Ooh. Either way, Tough Room's better.
Yeah.
Tough Room is a podcast.
Tough Room.
Why not?
I don't know. Maybe.
Look, how many guys in New York would do it? A lot.
Yes.
Easy.
Yeah.
Norton would do it for sure, 100%.
Well, he wouldn't be invited on, but you're right. You brought up the one name of someone that's not welcome on the show.
There's plenty of comics that would do
I
it.
know, I know.
Joey Diaz is in Jersey, man.
Oh yeah, a lot of people.
He's
moved
out
on.
there in the East Coast. Yeah, he got the fuck out. Most people are leaving. LA is just a sinking ship.
Yeah, everybody's leaving.
Yeah, it's sad. It's
It is.
sad.
But it's also good. Things move on. Like I said, comedy, I'm not even kidding. What if it becomes this, outdoor thing? Everyone's going to move down south.
It could be an outdoor thing, but I think more than anything, it could be a thing where I think they're going to have some sort of a treatment for COVID sooner or later. And it's just a matter of look, the reason why LA was because everybody came out there to do TV and movies.
Right.
And then they wound up doing comedy as well. And then they did comedy while they were doing TV and movies. But it was always, when I started in the 90s in LA, it was a means to an end. Like when I came out there to do a television show, and there was a lot of people that were doing stand-up hoping they would get a TV show.
That's right.
I came out there with a TV show,
Right.
hoping to get passed as a paid regular at the store.
Right.
And then once I was there, I was like, this is weird because like I don't really want to. I was doing TV for money. And every time a new TV project came up, I was like, okay. But really, I had this dream. My dream was like, I would really love if I could just do stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing all this stuff so I could make like Stanhope said it best. He goes, basically, we're doing TV to make sure we have an audience so that we could do stand-up.
Absolutely.
But now that doesn't exist anymore. Nobody gives a fuck about TV.
Nobody cares.
For a lot of comics, if you get a TV show, it's like, poor guy, you got a show. It's like now you're fucked.
You're right.
You're gonna get less money. You can't say what you want. You can't talk wild.
And you never know when you're scheduled. You can't go on the road.
Right. And you have to deal with all these weird politics of sets now.
Yeah.
It's like every set has to be diverse. You have to, like, the casting is weird. It's
Sure.
all fake. It's like you're not casting the best people. You have to make sure you have an Asian character
Right.
and this character.
Yeah.
Where's your gay representation?
Right.
It's just
If it's a urban gang, they have to all look like Greg Kinnear.
but it's just nowadays you don't